They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 230 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got checking in here. We got Sharon Wright in the building from Blandon, PA. We got Mona Obamolak from Orlando. We got Ricardo Yanis down in Texas. We got AP Patrick Lawrence, who's in Connecticut. We got Constance Sherrod in Pearl, Mississippi. Scott Wiley in Chester, Virginia. Grace Castaneda in Kyle, Texas. Yolanda McKinney, who was our guest last week down in Texas. If you missed it, check her out. Just go back and look at week number 229. And we had a dynamite session. We got Michael Benton out there in Cincinnati holding it down. We got Mia Langi in the building. Where's she at? Yules, Texas. Got Deborah Melton Brown. Let me move up so I can see this screen, man. Deborah Melton Brown in West Virginia. Lisa DeBose Walker is in Waco, Texas. We got John Few in Chester, South Carolina. Lysandra Brackens is in NC, North Carolina. Rodney Richardson in Hampton, Virginia. Got that big game today, right? Hampton versus Howard. HU versus HU. We got Marsha Poe in San Diego. Ronald Pugh, Cedar Hill, Texas. Tashika Truesdale in Atlanta. Chancellor Davis, Las Vegas, Nevada. Dr. Rella Hicks is in Augusta, GA. Stacy Joy is in LA. If you missed the session I did with her and Jonathan Austin, go back. I think it's like 227, something like that. Go back and check it out. We brought a teacher's perspective, veteran teacher's perspective that particular week. Where we at? Takesha High Jones is in Virginia. My man, Josh Tovar, part of the Fantastic Four. Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. He's all Facebook Live Saturday mornings. Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor's The Doctors, and then myself at 10:55, and then on, and we call ourselves Super Saturday, right? And then Josh is on Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and that rounds out the Fantastic Four. We'll be coming together later in the fall once again. We got Demetrius Scott in the building. That's Dr. Demetrius Scott. How could I not say that? My brother. Good to see you. We got Dr. Sheikah Houston in the building. Where we at? Josh said I'm on fire. You know, I'm toning that down a little bit today. Josh, you'll see in a few minutes starting today. Like all that yelling I do on stage, all that yelling I do here. I'm getting ready to face 64 years old in October. And my body is saying, bring that down a little bit. Where we at? Sean Hurt, my man. He had another powerful session this morning, and so did Create and Educate. So you check them out if you missed it this morning. There's the queen of the castle, man. Kimberly Broughton Kafele in the building. Lynette Wilson is in North Carolina. I'm getting ready to get to it. Janelle Opoku, that's Dr. Janelle Opoku. She's in the building. If you missed my interview with her and a couple of the principals, go back and check that out. They're all great. There's no session that's bad, man. They're all phenomenal sessions. So you got to go back and check them out. I'm getting ready to shut it down, y'all. We got Tanya Hodges Westbrook in Omaha, Nebraska. So I know that's somebody that's friendly with Tarina Cox-Jones, one of my guests here. Terica Ned Pelt, Southern California. Crystal Reddick, and I think I'm gonna end it there. Let me see if I see any Jersey folks in the building. Any Jersey? There's my Jersey. There's my brother Lou Saunders. As a matter of fact, Louis, I'm trying to get you on here with somebody else some more early childhood folks, right? Might be my sister Gail Cushney, right? So we gonna work on that because I want to get that early childhood perspective in here as well. So just be patient with me. I'm gonna end it there with my brother Lou Saunders from East Orange, New Jersey. At least he worked there with me for many years, and I want to say to you in a very mellower way, good morning to everybody. Greetings and welcome to week 230 of the AP and New Principles Academy. You all know that at this point, I would cock my fist back and yell at the top of my lungs that I'm on fire. But again, I'm staying conscious of the fact that I'm not 25, man. I'm getting ready to turn 64 next month, and I'll be a year from 60. I can't keep on being on these stages yelling at the top of my lungs. I can't keep on being on this platform on Saturday yelling at the top of my lungs. It is not healthy. And I shouldn't be saying this publicly because my wife's going to hear me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sometimes I feel something. And I'm like, yo, man, what's going on like up here? Right. So we're going to stop all that. That's over. So if you ever want to see me scream, I'm on fire, just go back to the previous videos. But I will let you know that I'm on fire. I'm just not bringing that energy. I'm blazing, y'all. I'm blazing. The week I had, let me just jump into you and tell you why I'm so on fire. And someone said, no, oh, that's Sheikah, all white Frankie Beverly. I just said, yeah. Come on. You know, this Frankie Beverly. We're going to talk about it in a minute, man. Appreciate you, Sheikah. Dr. Houston. Shout out to Educational Service Center, Region 14 in Abilene, Texas. I'm still on fire from that presentation earlier in the week, man. All day long with folks, man. Shout out to them. Patty Garcia, the one that invited me. I hope some of y'all are on here right now. Shout out to Riverside County Equity Conference. Oh my God, what a conference in Palm Springs, California. Even had a balcony overlooking the pool. Felt like I was still in Aruba, right? So shout out to Riverside County Equity Conference and my man, the good Dr. Charles Brown, who invited me. We just had a great time, man. If there's anybody on right now from the conference, shout out to y'all, man. We had a great time, a great 2 days out there. And shout out to Russell Sage College in Troy, New York, man. They called me. They said, we have an emergency. Our speaker can't appear. Can you speak to us virtually? I mean, we talked in less than 24. I said, well, I'm going to be getting ready to board a flight to Palm Springs. But if you don't mind me talking to y'all from the rental car in the rental car parking lot, then we can do this. So I pulled up in the parking lot, man, and did a whole keynote, man. That's what we do, baby. That's what we do. So shout out to all of them. But you know something, man? Let me tell you why I'm on fire, man. Frankie Beverly, baby. Let me tell y'all something, man. This, my topic today is not Frankie Beverly and Mays, but this platform today, this session today is dedicated to the lifetimes of the late great Frankie Beverly. Now, I wanted to play some music. Many of you, I'm sure, know that when I do the big keynotes, I come out to "We Are One" as my theme song. And I'm not a dancer. I can't dance. God didn't give me that talent. But I act like I can, and I come on that stage and I dance. I ask the audience to stand up with me. Sometimes them audiences be 5,000 people strong, and we all in there dancing. And We Are One. Half of them may never heard of Frankie Beverly, don't know a thing about him, don't know his music, but that's okay. They get introduced to it. But a lot of them people, they started hearing that Frankie Beverly made his transition, and they start writing me on social media like, I thought about you. That's the one you play when you do the keynote. Yeah, that's him. So I went to see his last performance in Philadelphia in July. Some of you probably know that. And I wore this shirt, right? So because everybody wore white. When you go to see Frankie Beverly, you wear white because he wears white. That's why. He wears a cap like this. I got this in the mail yesterday, right? When I got home from my trip, it was sitting on the table. I ordered it like Wednesday, right? And here it was, because I said I'm going to wear it on Saturday. It's probably a one-time wear. I don't wear white caps, right? Frankie Beverly does, but I'm wearing it for this broadcast, right? So I'm dedicating us to Frankie Beverly, man. Great music. If there's fam on the call right now and you don't know Frankie Beverly, and like I said, I just didn't want YouTube not YouTube, Facebook, to mute me, because most of you are watching on Facebook. So I didn't want to take a chance and play that video with me walking out on that stage dancing about 5,000 in the room, and to We Are One, and then they mute it, and then the broadcast is up in smoke. So I decided we wouldn't do it. But let me tell you something, y'all. Go to YouTube if you don't know Frankie Beverly, and just groove to that music, man. I Can't Get Over You, We Are One, Happy Feelings, Golden Time of Day, Thank You, Morning After, and I can go on and on. I can go on and on. But just so for those of you that I didn't name your favorite Frankie Beverly and Mays song, excuse me, right? It's too many to name, but just make sure before I let go, I got to say that one, right? But that's not one of my favorites, though. I don't know why. Right, but that's not one of my favorite Frankie Beverly songs. Joy and Pain, thank you, Greg. Right, so yeah, it's just so much. So I said on Facebook yesterday, I said I just can't stop playing Frankie Beverly music right now. I'm on them long flights. I was on a 4 hour. How much did I fly? 4 hours yesterday. All I'm playing is Frankie. The night before, Frankie. The day before, Frankie, sitting on the balcony in Palm Springs. Frankie. I'm just listening to Frankie. Southern Girl. Thank you, Stacy. It's just so many hits going back to 1977. Those songs don't die. Matter of fact, those songs were packing arenas. People want to hear them old songs, right? So I know that a lot of us are going through withdrawal. Especially the ones who go to the concerts, like myself and my wife, is like, man, we ain't got Frankie no more. We can't go to the show no more. I know that they got the band is still out there with a replacement singer, but I'm gonna just speak for me. I go see Frankie, man. That's me. Frankie's voice wasn't what it used to be. Didn't matter. But that's enough there. I just wanted to say that because I'm in this Frankie spirit, man. I'm rocking my white. So those of you that tuned in late, I don't have a jersey on, man. A Negro Leagues jersey. I'm this Frankie Beverly today. Welcome to the first timers. I'm glad you're here. Glad you are here. But the problem is, if this is your first time, you've missed 229 weeks. So now you got to go to the YouTube channel, AP and New Principles Academy. In fact, let me just put it right up here for you. AP and New Principles Academy. And where we at? Here we go. And just binge watch, right? Binge watch all that free PD. I cannot tell you the number of people, including when I was in at the equity conference in Palm Springs. I can't tell you the number of people who have told me over the years that no grad school that they've attended has anything on this Saturday Academy. I hear it all the time. It's the only thing I can't assign research papers and assignments and so forth. But in terms of content, people tell me all the time, man, this is it. So I just feel blessed by it. So make sure you subscribe and you hit the notifications bell. Again, subscribe. Don't just go to the channel. Subscribe. We got 22,500 subscribers. That's a heck of a lot of people, but I still want to climb because it's 22,000. But there's probably at least 200,000 APs in America, over 100,000 principals in America. The 22,000 is nice, but I let me be quite frank with you. I want to take it to at least 100,000 subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Those of you that don't know, we're back on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, right? I don't think I need to keep saying that. Always got to let you know about these books, y'all. As a part of this platform, there's some books that accompany it. These are leadership books I've written. Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It? The Aspiring Principal 50. The Principal 50. The Assistant Principal 50. And the Assistant Principal Identity. You can get all of these on Amazon right now. Like yesterday, I was doing a session on equity. I told the folks in the audience, just get your phone out and order the book like right now. They was like, we got it. See, just order the book now. That's what I tell my audience. It's like, we ain't got to wait. Just while I'm talking, just go to your phone, Amazon, put Baruti Kafele when you get there. You'll see the book. Click, done, back to the presentation, right? So go to Amazon and get your book. Use a different device, obviously, or just go to a different tab in your Chrome browser, whatever you're using. And then obviously, I got to tell y'all real quick. I know I got guests, man, but I gotta handle my business. I got the new joint. coming out in December. This is the most important book I've ever written. This is book number 14. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise, right? What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Not what is my value to the teachers I supervise. I have no interest in that question. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? That's the question. I wrote that book in 18 days. I was on fire, 50,000 words. I was on fire, writing around the clock. The book, I wrote it in May. The book is going on pre-sale in October, and it'll be in your hands in December. 18 days, 50,000 words. I was on fire. I wish I could say it the way I want to say it, y'all, but I got to live long, man. I can't. I'm too old to be screaming on Saturday mornings, right? So I ain't old. Don't get me wrong. I'm young, but too old for that, right? So we gonna refrain. And my wife, my son is sitting right here. They all saying amen, right? Like they've been telling me for a while. My mother, she's on here. She's saying amen because my mother's been on me heavy. Like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop doing that. I can't even watch that. All right, so Mom, it's over. Let me go, y'all. I'm getting ready to get with my guests. I got a quick monologue, man. I got a quick monologue. Somebody probably said, I thought that was the monologue. Oh, I see you, Patty Garcia. I'm gonna put you up on the screen, man. Patty Garcia, bless me, man. In Abilene, Texas, bringing me out there to spend the time. Yeah, Marcus, you do that yelling for me, Dr. Jackson, because I can't do it no more, man. I can't do it. Every now and then I do that yell, and like I feel something, man. It ain't right. It's not right. Especially when I do that one on stage. Oh, yeah. I'm like, ooh, I need to sit down for a minute. Right. So we gonna end that. That's over. It's over. Listen, y'all, let me do this quick monologue. And then I got my guests coming up. We got an important topic. Listen, let me get rid of this off my screen too. I don't want this on my screen while I talk. Today is September 21st, 2024. Tomorrow, I was going to show you this video today, and I decided, y'all ain't ready for this yet. So I'm not going to show it to you. But tomorrow is September 22nd. September 22nd, hopefully you all had a chance to read a post I wrote. It had quite a few, quite a lot of traffic to it. I talked about my suspension from my principalship back on September 17th, 2004. Didn't do anything wrong. I just did what the people I've read about over the years have done. I stood on my principles. I stood on my beliefs. And as the young people would say, I stood on business. So, I just ran into a superintendent whose values, his professional values, were in stark contrast to mine. And I decided I wasn't going to compromise mine, because at the end of the day, I got to look in my mirror. So I stood on what I believed. I stood on my principles, and I was suspended. And I had a termination hearing the following week. So I was suspended from the entire district, couldn't step foot on campus. And my termination hearing was the following week. But the video that I really wanted to show you, but I decided not yet, y'all ain't ready for that, is the newscast, because it was a news story. Because I had a little reputation in my home city of East Orange. People know Principal Kafele, so it was a big story. So the hearing was September 22nd, 2004. Tomorrow marks the 20th anniversary. So besides Frankie Beverly, my mind has really been obsessed with that week, that period of time from September 17 to September 22nd, 2004. So I want to just say this to somebody. This will be my monologue, and then I'm gonna get to my guest. That was a period of my life where I was tested. I'm not going to get into as much depth as I did in the post. If you really want to hear this, then just go to the post, the Facebook post from a few days, from September 17th, right? It's a little long, but I think it's worth the read. But here's the thing. I don't think that this has to be a principle message I want to give you. This is just a people message. We all have things we believe in. We all have things we stand on. We all have certain principles, core beliefs, core values, right? And at some point, they'll be tested. They're going to be tested. I can pretty much guarantee that your principles, your core beliefs, your core values are going to be tested at some point. And when they are tested, you are essentially being tested. So the question is, when your core beliefs, when your core values, when your core principles are tested, what will you do? Will you veer left? Will you veer right? Will you cave in? Will you bow down? What will you do? I'm not going to judge you. You do what you got to do, what you need to do according to your life, your family, etc. My family was depending on me financially. I'm making a principal salary. But despite that, I decided to stand on business, as the young people would say. I stood on business. And for standing on business, I was suspended. And I was the headline story in the newspapers. I was the lead story. I took a screenshot of the, how when they go into a news story on television, but it's got a headline on it. Well, I took a screenshot of it this morning, and I'm gonna post that tomorrow. It says principal under fire. I'm just not going to show you the video yet, but I'm gonna tell you something. Because of all that media, and then the late great James M. Tume, who wrote the song Juicy, who wrote songs for Roberta Flack, wrote probably all the songs for Stephanie Mills, was a host of a radio show I was on coincidentally when I was suspended. I was on to talk about a new book I had written, a handbook for children of African American, a handbook for teachers of African American children. But it's a talk show. So when the phone lines opened and the parents calling up and they were so concerned about my pending termination, they wanted to talk about that. And I hadn't even told the host, James and Tume, Bob Slade and Bob Pickett. So they wanted to talk about my suspension. So we talked about my suspension. And James and Tume, I hope you know this, man. If you know that song Juicy by Biggie, that music in the background is James and Tume's music, right? It's called Juicy Fruit. Right. So Biggie that's a sample. He didn't write that music. He wrote his lyrics, but he didn't write that music that was playing. That was the late, great James M. Tume. So James and Tume took that microphone, 3 million people listening. He said, anybody under the sound of my voice, be at the East Orange Board of Education meeting on September 22nd, 2004 at 7 o'clock. Well, it wasn't 3 million, but it daggone felt like 3 million. My wife and I and my son over here, Baruti, we could barely drive through the parking lot, man. All these people, my students were in that parking lot with all these signs, these placards, man. like the Free Joe Clark type thing, free Principal Kafele, that type of thing. We on the 3rd floor. To my guests, y'all, accept my apology for going longer than I planned to, y'all. We were on the 3rd floor of the East Orange Board of Education building. We couldn't hear ourselves in the meeting. I want y'all to understand this. We on the 3rd floor. We up there. But all them parents, all my students, all my teachers, they're downstairs yelling. They love Principal, Mr. Kafele, all that kind of stuff. Hands off, Mr. Kafele. Man, we could not hear the board meeting. We couldn't hear because my folks were that loud. They opened the floor for public forum so the people could speak. The board didn't want them to speak, but all them people that was in that meeting said, no, we're going to speak. So they had to cave in and let them speak. Half the people in that line, which took all night long, I didn't even know them. They were coming from different states. They weren't just from Jersey. They were coming from different states testifying on my behalf because they knew my work. So long story short, y'all, the news media, you know how when you watch a press conference and you see those news media microphones on the podium? That's what they had at my hearing. So the cameras were rolling during my hearing. So at the end of the meeting, the board said, They voted like whether or not I should be terminated. We had 7 board members, 7-0. They said, be at work tomorrow, buddy. You didn't do anything wrong. I ain't do nothing wrong. I don't do things wrong. That's not what I am. That's not who I am. But I stand on business. If I could quote young people, I stand on what I believe. I stand on my principles. And all I was doing was protecting my students from a superintendent whose values were in stark contrast from mine. I was protecting them. I was advocating for them. I was fighting for them. See, I'm not going to be reckless on this platform. You know, I'm retired. I could talk recklessly. Here go my mother right here. We're going to put her up here. There's my mother. Dedication, she said, right? So I'm not going to talk. See, I could talk reckless at 64. My bank is looking good. So if I got no more engagements, I'm good, right? Me and my wife, if nobody else, if my words right now turn some people off, we ain't inviting Kafele no more. Let me tell y'all something. Me and my wife, we good. We will live very comfortably until we're 100 years old. We're good. So see, I can talk that way. Now, but now I opened up the can of worms. So I'm saying two things. Hey, somebody out there, if you live in paycheck to paycheck, if you so young in your mind, I'm in my 30s. I don't have to be thinking about when I'm in my 60s. Then I wanna pull in your reins for a second. No, you should be planning for your future. And you should also be, if you're a principal, you should be planning for your demise. Yeah, I said it. You should be planning for your demise because you just don't know. So I built something, y'all, with what? These. I built something. It's called Principal Kafele Consulting, LLC. I built something. This thing, man, I'm not going to talk dollars and cents to y'all. This thing blessed me. It blessed me. But let me give you this. They said, you did nothing wrong. Report back to work. I leave that district, man. You put me through enough, but I'm born and raised in that city. So the mayor calls, no, don't leave. The board president calls, no, don't leave. Council people calling, no, don't leave. Now I'm gone. You saying that now, but you didn't protect me when I was going through it. So I got recruited from the Essex County Vocational Technical School District. I go down there. My plan was to stay 1 year and then do this work that I do now. I fell in love with them kids. I want you to hear this. I fell in love with them babies. That was a high school. I fell in love with that staff. I fell in love with that community. I stayed there for 6 years, but in year 5, Lowell Milken showed up at my school. You know I'm talking about Hayward. Lowell Milken showed up at my school. That's a billionaire. And he awarded me with a check in the amount of $25,000. He said, I'm giving you the Milken Award, right? He bestowed that upon me. I said, well, if that's the matter of fact, here, hey, to Hayward, Dr. Griffin, Tarina, y'all got to forgive me for a minute, man. God is leading me differently right now. Y'all check this video out right quick.
I breathe it, I sleep it, I eat it. It's my entire life. What I do as a
Come on.
There are lots of jobs that people used to do that are now done through technology. And so as the demands of the workforce change, we need to make sure that the education that all of you receive prepare you to be successful in that 21st century workforce.
When I was in public school, and it was a few years ago, I was very fortunate to have many outstanding teachers. They prepared me well to take advantage of life's opportunities. Now, in our nation today, we do so many things well, but one thing we don't do well enough, and that is support our talented teachers. We need to find new and creative ways to offer more powerful career opportunities for educators. We need to make the pay equal to the importance of the job. And we also need to do another thing, and that is we need to celebrate and recognize the good work that our talented teachers do. It gives me great pleasure to present the Milken National Educator Award to a truly exemplary educator, Frankie Beverly.
Principal Kafele cares about these young people, and I see all the hard work that he puts in and how he inspires the educators to do their job.
We have champions all over this city, from the North Ward to the South, East to West, and in the Central. And today we celebrate one of the heroes of our hometown. I give him my thanks. I give him my gratitude. I give him my love. One more thank you to our great principal.
I'm proud to be the principal of this school. It is a blessing to be principal. I am blessed to receive this award. And again, Mr. Milken, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yo, you gonna try to fire me, man? Do you know what I bring? I mean, serious. Do you know what I bring to principal leadership, and you gonna try to fire me? You gonna suspend me? I just went somewhere else then and was recognized as one of the top educators in America. The Milken Award, the Milken Family Foundation, Lowell Milken, Jane Foley. These are people in my life from the Milken Foundation, Michael Milken. See, you're going to try to fire me, man? Are you serious? I ain't trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm trying to holler at somebody out here. I got guests here. Let me holler real quick, man. I got my Frankie Beverly. I'm probably feeling that right now too, man. Listen, somebody. Stuff gonna come at you. I got guests today. This wasn't my plan. I was gonna hit you with 2 minutes of this and then I'm out. Listen, stuff gonna come your way, y'all. Especially if you doing the right thing. If you doing the right thing and if you doing it the right way, it's gonna come at you. I ain't mad at nobody's superior. I mean, it's just life, man. It might not be your superior, it might be some other people, right? But whomever it is, stuff comes at you. But how you gonna respond? That's the question. How you gonna respond to it? How you gonna react to it? See, that's the question. So I decided again, I'm going to stand on what I believe. I'm going to stand on principle. I'm going to stand on belief. I'm going to stand on value. It's like, because I don't want to get religious on here, so I'm going to just say, it's like God was testing me. Now, if I'm not talking to y'all, I'm going to say God was testing me, right? Matter of fact, let's just keep it real. God said, I got bigger things for you than the principalship, but I need to find out what you made of. See, I need to find out how you built. You talk a good game, but let me put you through some stuff now. Let me have your name smeared all over the media, broadcast media, radio and television, and print media. There was no internet at this level quite yet. Let me see how you handle that. I handled it well. So went on and became principal at North Tech. And then 5 years in, received that Milken Award. I was supposed to leave that year to do this. But once that happened, I said, well, I can't leave. So I stayed another year. And then I left to do this work. And I've been blessed through this work. I'm saying to somebody out there, you might need to hear this more than you need to hear our conversation today. If you're going through something right now, do know that there are greener pastures out there. But you have to have the audacity to search for them, right? You can't wallow in your mess. You have to have the audacity to step out, right? Or if you can endure it, then endure it. I decided I'm not going to endure that because I know that there's somebody out here somewhere who will benefit from my skill set, from my dedication, from my drive, from my determination, from my attitude. I know it. So they found me and I found them, and we made a connection and made history. U.S. News and World Report said we were one of the top high schools in America for 3 consecutive years. And you was going to try to fire me in East Orange? You suspended me in my home city? Smeared my name and my reputation? But then I got that, but God said, I got something bigger for you. I'm going to cap this story this way, not the slang cap. The real cap. I'm going to cap this story this way. That superintendent went to another district, which I'm going to leave nameless. He tore that thing up. Ooh. Now, I'm not using slang on that one. I mean, literally like destroyed it. Them people did not know my relationship to that superintendent. Guess what? Principal Kafele, we're from XYZ district in upstate New York. We need you to come in and be our superintendent. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up, y'all. The man left East Orange and went to another district and tore it up. They don't know my relationship to him because I'm 6 years out now. They don't know it. All they know, they know my work, but they don't know my past. Principal Kafele, could you come on out for an interview? We really would like you to be superintendent of our district because the previous superintendent left us in bad shape. That was the one that tried to fire me. See, y'all see how God works? Y'all see that grin, baby? Now, if this was like last week, I'd be screaming at y'all. I'd probably be crying on this thing like y'all seen me do in the past, but I'm keeping my composure. I'm keeping my composure. But if this was a week ago, then I'm on here screaming, I'm yelling, I'm banging on my desk, I'm doing all that stuff, but I'm keeping my composure this week, right? So, but let me say this last piece. I'm not angry, y'all. That's why I keep smiling. I ain't mad. I ain't even mad at him. I ain't mad. It's just to see I'm in this 20th anniversary, so it's on me a little heavier than it normally would be. Because we in the date now, right? And particularly tomorrow, we in it. So it's like on my spirit more than it normally would be. By Monday, I'm gonna be back to myself. But right now, I'm like, man, this dude tried to run me out of town, smeared me in the media, made false accusations against me. You tried to fire me. You suspended me, had the security drive the East Orange security van and hand deliver my suspension notes at my front door. I mean, like, what am I, some kind of criminal, man? Right? But 5 years later, baby, you are presented the Milken Award as one of America's top educators. Enough said, y'all. I'm sorry. I know I went long, man. It's 11:35. I appreciate that. I'm talking to my son. I appreciate that. He was at my hearing. I insisted that my son, he was young, sit there because I knew what I was going to do at that hearing. I insisted that my son be at that hearing, Baruti, because I wanted him to see his father perform in front of that crowd at that podium. He wasn't going to see no punk that night. He wasn't going to see me doing no buck dance. Not me. He was going to see his father stand before that podium. And when that board president said, you don't sound like someone fighting for your job, and that's in that video, I'll show you one day. My response said, because I'm not. I ain't fighting for nothing. I'm just speaking my truth. That's all. Enough said, baby. Enough said. Enough said. Let's go. I got guests today. Let me bring it down before I bring y'all up here, man. Let me just bring it down. Bring it down. Come on, Kafele, bring it down. I got guests. I'm glad this ain't last week because I would be sitting up here crying my eyes out, man, because I would have got loud. I would have been yelling. I would have gotten emotional. I'm good, man. I got good control today. Let me get my guest up here, man. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to change this background quick. What's up, y'all?
What's going on?
Listen, Reverend Kafele, thank you, sir.
Right. I appreciate you.
Great day, great day.
Appreciate that screen, man. There we go. I appreciate y'all for being patient. And to to the supervisors and districts of my guests today, they have nothing to do with my words. That's me. That's me. They knew nothing about what I was going to talk about. And to be quite honest with y'all, neither did I.
Wow.
I had on here, it's like 60 seconds, right? That wasn't my plan. So it's God moves mysteriously, and I just go with it, man. That's
he
what
does.
Definitely.
I hope that my words to the fam out there, I hope my words were a blessing to somebody. I hope my experience was a blessing to somebody out there, and you could benefit from my experience. I'm a self-made man. Wow. Right. Principal Kafele Consulting has no secretary, has no clerk, it has no booking agent, it has no accountant, it has no intern, it has nothing. It's just this one person. Whatever you see in the world as it relates to Principal Kafele Consulting, whether it be my books, my videos, my live stream, my blogs, my live speeches and presentations and consulting, booking the airplanes, booking the hotels, booking the rental cars, whatever you see. It's just a one-man operation.
Wow.
That's all it is. I have nobody. By choice, I got nobody. It's just a one-man operation, right? So if I can do it, the guy that spent 5 years in high school, not 4, 5 years in high school with the 1.5 GPA, and then the next 5 years doing absolutely nothing with his life, and then turn around and do what I've done in my life, then what are you waiting for? Take that school to the next level, somebody. Take your game to heights previously unimagined. If I did 5 years, 4 different schools, and got nothing to show for it. Don't tell me these. Listen. Don't tell me that underperforming youngster that gets sent to the main office can't be a superstar. Don't tell me that. Let's go, y'all. Let's go. I'm done. I'm done. Hey, y'all, our topic today, having difficult, uncomfortable, courageous conversations with staff. But I want you to know who's on here. So I talked to my folks offline, and I knew I wrote this long agenda. And we already, assuming that they're available, we're gonna come for a part 2 on November 30th, because we're not going to finish today. I'll tell you that right now. I blew that. Right. So I'm hoping they're available November 30th. I'll be in Las Vegas. I'm taking a vacation every month in the fall. Aruba in September, Jamaica in October, Las Vegas in November, and we haven't decided on where we're going in December. But I'm living life. I'm living my best life. Right. So I'm gonna work hard, but I'm gonna make sure I play hard as well. Right. And that's important. That's important. I ain't bragging. I ain't boasting. I'm just saying I'm getting it done. All right, we got Dr. Joe Griffin. Appreciate it. We got Dr. Joe Griffin. I'm gonna read like lightning fast, so y'all know when I read fast, I start stuttering and all that. Don't attribute that to me not having the ability to read. I'm just going fast. Dr. Joe. See, I'm already stuttering. Dr. Joe Griffin is a speaker, educational consultant, and author of 8 books, including his latest, Empowering Educational Communities, which is right here. Don't worry about the line in the middle. I got the promo copy, right? So Empowering Educational Communities, a guide for teacher-principal collaboration. With over 23 years of experience on all levels of K-12 education at Black, White, Latino, and French immersion school, along with more than a decade as a college professor, Griffin has a proven track record in school improvement, successfully turning around 5 schools. Notably, he moved a high school from a D, listen to this, y'all, a high school from a D to its first B rating in history in the first year, maintaining that success for 4 consecutive years. Dr. Griffin also prepared a school for state takeover, led one out-of-state takeover status, raised performance by 20% in 3 subject areas in 1 year at another, and improved another from one of the state's top 15 worst to a successful rating in 3 years. He believes in the superpower of teamwork and collaboration to achieve a shared vision of success. Born and raised in Clarksdale, Mississippi, the real home of the Blues, Dr. Griffin overcame the challenges of a single-parent home, gang influence, and racial tension to achieve his dream of playing college basketball. Now based in Los Angeles, California, he's a certified global DNA leadership coach, keynote speaker, professional development presenter. Dr. Griffin has been blessed to earn awards such as Administrator of the Year, Outstanding Leadership Award and the Delta Sigma Theta Red Education Development Award. Colleges that Dr. Griffin has attended include HBCU, I don't know how to pronounce this, Coahoma Community College.
Community College. Yeah.
One of the 10 2-year HBCUs, and that was education to me, because I did not know that there were 2-year HBCUs out there. Belhaven College University, Delta State University, and the University of Southern Mississippi for his specialist in doctoral studies. Dr. Griffin believes in the potential for everyone to succeed and is dedicated to empowering educational communities to create systems of collaboration that work and last. All students should have access to knowledge, no matter where one comes from, because everyone deserves that chance. Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Tarina Cox-Jones is in her 24th year. I hear that number. 24th year as an educator in Omaha Public Schools in Omaha, Nebraska, the birthplace of Malcolm X. She graduated with, that's not in her bio, I threw that in. She graduated with her Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln in May 2001. She started her teaching career as a 4th grade teacher. She taught 4th grade for 1 year while she was in the cadre program, where she taught full-time while completing her master's degree in elementary education at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. After her first year teaching, Tarina started teaching middle school science at King Science and Technology Magnet Center. She found her training as an elementary teacher very helpful as a middle school science teacher, especially when they were asked to incorporate reading, writing, and math into the content areas. Tarina taught middle school science for 3.5 years before transitioning to the district office for the Omaha Public Schools. She was a science lead teacher for a year and a half. As a science lead teacher, she was able to support K-12 science teachers with classroom management, student engagement, and science curriculum support. Tarina found that she missed working directly with students in the building, so she put her master's in administration to work and served as an elementary assistant principal at Kellum University Elementary. After 2 years as an assistant principal, Tarina was promoted to a building principal at Laura Dodge Elementary. Just as she was getting her feet wet as a new principal, she was promoted to the principal at Skinner Magnet Center, where she is currently in her 14th year as principal. And I had the privilege of speaking there once. Tarina loves her school community and strives each and every day to support her students, staff, and families and community. Tarina is currently a PhD student at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. The focus of her research is on the recruitment and retention of teachers of color in the Omaha Public Schools. That's a powerful topic to research as well. And last but not least, Hayward John is the director of Student Services for Orangeburg County School District in South Carolina, serving around 10,000 students. A former award-winning principal. Is it Melichamp?
You got it.
Melichamp Elementary School, the extraordinary team achieved an A rating from an F in 2013 and won the Palmetto Silver Award in 2014. In the 2019-20 school year, Melichamp was one of only 2 schools nationwide to receive the National Institute of Excellence in Teaching, NIET, School of Promise Award. Let me say that again. One of only 2 schools nationwide. Now, how many schools nationwide? Over 8,500. He was also pivotal in helping to secure a $2.5 million grant for NIET to develop South Carolina's school leaders. An accomplished author, Hayward wrote Weapons of Mass Distraction, Dismantling Influence of Negative Hip-Hop Music on Our Youth, and co-authored the Power Chord Devotional, a 40-day marriage prayer journal with his wife, Starlet. His teaching career included being named Teacher of the Year at his school, a District Teacher of the Year finalist, and receiving several prestigious awards, including the NAACP Presidential Citation for Education Advocacy. As an inaugural member of the Call Me Mr. Call Me Mr., Hayward contributes to professional development for pre-service educators. He has also been honored by Claflin University, where my son graduated, Jabari, with the inaugural Young Alumnus Award, and received multiple awards such as the Compassion for Faithful Service Award and the 2024 NAACP Humanitarian Education Award. Finally, in community leadership, Hayward and Starlet are founders of Speak Life Day, a national initiative promoting positive communication in schools and communities. Hayward co-chairs the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office Community Advisory Council and serves as the boards of the serves on the boards of the Regional Medical Center Foundation, CASA Family Systems, and the Tri-County Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's the founder of Speak Life Enterprises and a national presenter with a Get Your Teach On. Hayward and Starlet pastor Conforming to Christ's Image Church in Orangeburg, South Carolina, where they reside with their 3 children, Hayward, Malachi, and Imani. Strong stuff, man. Hey, folks out there, hit the share button, hit the retweet, the repost, tag somebody, tag those Facebook groups, but also hit the like buttons, right? Even if you dislike it, like it anyway. The like button activates the algorithm. So if you don't like it and you can find some other negative people that don't like it, then we could still get them all to say, I don't like this, right? So hit the like button, Let's go, y'all. Hey, we're gonna go as far as we can. As an educator, I want to start off with Dr. Griffin. As an educator, if I can isolate just the education part of your totality and ask you the question, who is Dr. Joseph Griffin as an educator? And before you answer the question, I should have said this off mic, but I'll say it on mic. Keep in mind, we got a long agenda, y'all. So don't give me the super duper long answers right now, because we got a lot to talk about, right? Go ahead, Joe. Dr. Griffin.
All right. Simply spoken, first I appreciate you for having us, Mr. Kafele, Principal Kafele. Everything is beautiful. Thank you. And an inspiring story to get us going. I faced that type of persecution as well. So I know anytime you're in leadership, that's going to be one of the things that you face. But at the heart, I'm a fighter. I fight for education. I fight for myself as well as for others. I try to put students and teachers in positions where they can be successful, make sure that I lead with SEL principles so that everyone can have a sense of connection, And that's what I am as an educator.
I appreciate you. Tarina Cox-Jones, same question. If I can just isolate the education portion of you, and notice I'm not asking you as leader, right? I'm asking as educator. Who is Tarina Cox-Jones?
Tarina Cox-Jones is a relationship builder, whether it's with my students, staff, or families, or community partners. I am huge. For those of you that are familiar with Gallup Strengths Finder, I am a woo. Winning others over is what that stands for. And I am definitely a woo, and always trying to, sometimes at the detriment of myself, trying to make sure everyone else is taken care of. So I would definitely say that I'm definitely a caregiver for everyone.
Love it. And lastly, Hayward, Hayward John,
Yes,
isolating just the educator side of you. Who is Hayward John?
Man, people often say, man, you're a great motivational speaker. And I would cringe at that. And I didn't know why. I cringe at that because oftentimes when people see me as a speaker, it's almost as if I'm on display. But who I am at my core is I'm a motivational servant. My job is to serve, is to build people, is to see in them what they don't see in themselves, and to build them up and believe in them until they believe in themselves. So I am a motivational servant.
Yeah, I like that. Motivational servant. Dr. Griffin, I just read the bio, but there's a passage in there that I want to read so that I can ask you a couple of questions. Let me read it again. Griffin has a proven track record in school improvement, successfully turning around 5 schools. Notably, he moved a high school from a D to its first B rating in history in the first year, maintaining that success for 4 consecutive years. He also prepared a school for state takeover, led one out of takeover status, raised performance by 20% in 3 subject areas in 1 year at another, and improved another from one of the state's top 15 worst to success to a successful rating in 3 years. He believes in the superpower of teamwork and collaboration to achieve a shared vision of success. That's big time. And my question to you, there's a lot of folks I would think on the call right now, and I think that all of us, when we enter this profession, we want to work at the top of our game, right? We want to reach those pinnacles as you had done when you were in there. So my question to you is, what are the ingredients that make Dr. Joe Griffin the turnaround principal that you became of particularly 5 different schools? What are those ingredients that make you?
Thank you. First off, I believe in the power of teamwork, as I mentioned in the bio. I'm a 5'7" person, but I ended up playing 4 years of college basketball as a captain, majoring in English and so forth. So I know that working hard, working together, that's gonna put you in a position where you can do more than you ever could alone. We can go longer and further with a team than we can alone. So putting those systems in place, primarily with SEL-based principles, making sure that you get the information from them, their feelings, listening to the things that they need to put forth in this environment, and making sure that you implement systems that are going to allow your program to move forward. And those are the things that I did. Professional development, being an instructional leader, that was also key, because you have to show your people that you are the instructional leader, that you know these instructional practices, because that's the only way that one of the only ways that they're going to actually facilitate them in the room, that they know they have an instructional leader who's piping it down to them, pushing them forward, and empowering them to actually use them in safe spaces. So creating those safe spaces.
I want to stay with you. You know, you talked about your beliefs in the superpower of teamwork and collaboration. Give us a snapshot. This is an unfair question, because it's probably a whole lecture. It could be a whole 6-hour full day in service. But give us a snapshot of how one might go about building a team.
Again, it starts with those safe spaces. And one of the things that I like to do as a leader is focus in on small groups initially, so that you can get buy-in, create some ownership from the buy-in, because they go together. The only way you get to ownership is that they first buy into the program. And then from there, from those small groups, extend it more to the faculty, always leading with care. You notice on that book, subliminal messages, love has to be in leadership. It has to be in schools in order to push people forward, in order for them to learn from you. There has to be that connection. That connection is going to lead to empowerment. That empowerment is going to lead to collaboration.
Love it. Tarina, you've been at Skinner Magnet for, if I read it correctly, you've been in that building 14 years, or you've been principal 14 years?
14 years as principal here, 16 principal total.
Okay, so 14 years in a single school. That's a long time.
Yes.
To be in one building, and it speaks volumes to your performance as leader relative to your leadership within a building. A question to you is, how do you, and let me preface my question by saying about me, I don't know if I'm built to be in the same place that long. The longest I've ever held a job is what I do right now as an entrepreneur. But as far as teaching, I was only here a little while, there a little while, principal here a little while, there a little while. I kept moving, and it's not just because of what I said in the in the monologue, but it's also because I'm so competitive, right? So I want to go places and start over and all that kind of thing. But my question to you, what keeps you motivated to walk into that same building for 14 years and perform at high levels while working on a PhD?
It's funny because I was kind of the same way as you. Before coming to Skinner, I'd never been anywhere longer than 3.5 years. So I figured when I was promoted to Skinner, I was like, okay, I'll probably be here 3 to 5. And then all of a sudden it's 14. I think one thing is, in those 14 years, I've had 7 different co-administrators. So I think that has helped as well. Like, we've just being able to learn new people, being able to learn that teamwork, and just being able to, I don't live far from my school, and I think that's important as well. Just being able to be part of our North Omaha community. We are an urban inner city school, and it sounds crazy, but like right now, this year, I have former students that I had from like my first or second year here as principal that were probably in 5th or 6th grade. One of them I have his kindergarten son right now. So that is huge. And I have former students from when I taught middle school and elementary. I have their students. And so I think that's part of it, is just being able to be part of that community. And it's funny because every spring we get those principal calls. And so every spring when I see an HR number, I'm like, please don't move me. And I never would have thought, if you would have asked me my first few years here, I never thought I would still be here. And one of the things like right now is we are a school that, for various reasons, are a school in needs improvement. And it sounds crazy, but I feel like having that component added to our building this year is pushing me to be a better instructional leader, because there are things that are different protocols and things that I'm learning that are helping me grow, which will in turn help my staff and students and families grow. So I feel like, especially with having a different co-admin every 7 different ones in this time, I keep learning and keep growing. And so that's been really beneficial for me.
I love it. I love it. I got a part two for you. Within your leadership capacity, thinking about the 14 years, or even if you focused on what was much more recent, what within your leadership particularly stands out for you?
I would say the building of relationships and community. Something really not simple, but simple that we do here is we don't call our substitute teachers substitutes. We call them guest teachers. And it's been amazing. And it's a brown lunch paper sack that has a bottle of water and a packet of Costco microwave popcorn and a little note that says, thank you for being here. I kind of started that when I taught. I always left a note with $1 for my guest teacher to get a pop on me. And I just have continued that. And so, because a lot of times it's hard to get, there's just across the nation shortages of guest teachers. But one of the things that we do is we take care of not only our guest teachers, but our staff. Everybody on our staff is just as important. It doesn't matter your position, your title, how long you've been in education. We just try to make sure we are really a school community. Yes, we do. Sometimes we have our challenges, but what school doesn't? But we come together and we're a family. We spend more time with each other in this building than we do with our families out at home. And so that's been one of the best things, I think, is just making sure that everybody knows that they are valued and important, and it doesn't matter your position, and just taking care of one another.
I love it. And the three of you are, I'm hearing it from three of you, team and community, etc. And that takes me to Hayward. And I want to say to the fam out there, this will be the last of my intro, and then we'll get right to our topic of difficult, uncomfortable, courageous conversations. So there's a lot to say there. But I want you to know who these folks are before we jump into it. So I want to read just a portion from your bio again as well. You said, it says, a former award-winning principal of Milken Elementary School, the extraordinary team achieved an A rating from an F in 2013 and won the Palmetto Silver Award in 2014. In 2019-20 school year, Milken was one of only 2 schools nationwide to receive the National Institute of Excellence in Teaching NIET School of Promise Award. And again, there's over 8,500 schools in that network. Wow. My question to you, it didn't go unnoticed by me. I read your bio a couple of times before today, and nowhere in there are you referenced. You kept focusing on the team, and I picked up on that. And my question to you, why, when you wrote your bio or whomever wrote it, does it not say you, but it references team? Wow.
So that's powerful, Principal Kafele, and it's almost like you're sneaky interviewer, because I've never had anybody look at what's not written before, like you just did for all of us. And so that's huge, because that was intentional why that was written in there, because in my bio, especially in my role as a leader, it's really a tale of 2 leaders. When you think about me as a leader, it's a tale of 2 schools, even though that's only 1 school. And I'll tell you why I say that as brief as I possibly can. When I was named principal, I was named principal very controversially, because I'd never been an assistant principal at the time. I just believed in being a phenomenal teacher. And as a result, my role as an educator, as a teacher, got the attention of a new superintendent that wanted to make some shifts in our district. And one of those shifts was to improve our alternative school. So I left the teaching and moved right into the alternative school to be a dean of students at an alternative school. Mind you, at the time, I was already working on my degree to be a principal. Got that degree only because I had a dream of opening my own school one day. Never wanted to be a principal per se of somebody else's building. I wanted to open my own because I felt like my classrooms were my own school. And I wanted to take that mindset on forward. Long story short, 6 months later, a school opened up. It was a low performing school in our district that had a lot of potential, but just wasn't actualized or realized. And 6 months later, they said, we need someone to lead this school. Hayward, will you do it? And I said, I'd do it. And so 6 months later, I moved from dean of students at an alternative school, almost like the big brother of that alternative school, to now principal. So I'm 28 at the time. At 28 years old, a lot of people told me I didn't pay my dues. Like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? And as if I don't have a purpose I got to fulfill, right? They mad at me for fulfilling my purpose. I got a plan. Like you weren't there when I was born and set me on this path. So either way, it was almost like I was treated like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for being this principal that didn't pay his quote unquote dues, whatever that meant. Well, I didn't realize why that was important. So I almost, in a sense, had to struggle through an imposter syndrome, in a sense. I almost had to struggle through a moment of trying to prove myself. And so in that, I was trying to live in that capacity until I got an awakening. Here's how I got an awakening. Dr. Harry Wong. Anybody heard Dr. Harry Wong?
Oh, yeah.
I know we all have, right? So at the time, when our school moved from an F to an A rating in 1 year, it was astounding, and he was impressed by it. And he asked me, how was it done? Well, I told him in that time, well, some things that I had done to work alongside teachers, co-taught with them, planned alongside them, and all the things that I said that I did to help and to be a part of that. Like my hand was in everything. He sent me a message back and said, all right, that's good. Hit me back when you're not doing it all. I said, well, gosh, I never wanted to read your books anyway. I'm being silly. I was like, okay, all right. And but what it did was it awakened me. It stretched me to say, you know what? If you're going to be a leader, it's not about proving yourself. It's about proving in educators how powerful they can be, the impact that they can have on those individuals. And so I moved from being this educator that had to feel like I had to put my hands in everything, in a sense, to now being an educator that was intentional about building the people that are working with those students. So once that shifted, then we became a school that realized their talents. Once they realized their talents, gifts, and abilities, it became me being a coach of them more than a player alongside them. There's nothing wrong with being a player coach. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is one of the best leaders are leaders who can build capacity in the people that are working with them. It's like you're working through them. And so now I moved from being a person that was not about doing it all to being a person that was coaching those, empowering those who are doing it all. And so that's why it's team, because when you try to go alone, your impact is going to be short-lived. But when you do it as a collective, efficacious part of it, when that mindset is about building a team of people who are relentless at doing whatever it takes to win, then we started shifting people in their strength zones. So we moved our school into a place of just the leader does say what he says goes, to now being a leader who builds educators who now lead from their strengths. So Principal Kafele, what we did was we moved people where they were strong, and then they operated from that vantage point. And man, we became a school of continuity, sustainability. And that's when NIET said, you know what, they're doing something unique, because what we did was we stopped buying programs and started building the people that serve the kids.
Wow. Stop buying programs and started building people. That teamwork, it matters. You know, before I transition into our topic here, you said Harry Wong. And I just want to seize on that to just minister to somebody out there. 1998, my first year as an assistant principal, I went to a professional development training in Las Vegas at the Harrah's Hotel. And Harry Wong was one of the keynote speakers. And I was a speaker by then, but it was on a very small scale. And when I saw him on that stage, I said to myself, I'm going to be on one of those stages.
That's it.
A crowd that big.
That's it.
And I stored that in my mental notebook. Fast forward about maybe 10 years later. No, it's not 10 years. It's far less. It's about 5 years later. St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands superintendent asked me to come and speak keynote their island, St. John, St. Croix, and St. Thomas. So all three, their educator conference mid-year. And she said Harry Wong will be the other keynoter.
Wow.
Wow. So Harry Wong opened up in the morning and I closed in the afternoon. But I got so hyped that when I did my closing, not that closing been doing these days with all that yelling, but I did some kind of close. But in the midst of the close, the people went crazy. So I could no longer hear myself and they couldn't hear me. They just going nuts. So I elevated, right? And they still going nuts. And I had in my mind, Harry Wong is, because he was in the room. So I had it, all these dynamics playing, and the people just, and I want them to hear my close, and I'm going up with them. And I kid you, my wife's upstairs, she'll tell you, because she came with me. When I finished, I went into the men's bathroom, sat on the commode with the cover down, and it took me over 30 minutes to recover. I don't know if y'all hear me.
Yes, sir.
I had to recover from that because it was so overwhelming. This Harry Wong. This ain't Joe Smo. This Harry Wong that I'm sharing the stage with. But I'm ministering to somebody out there to say to somebody, I had a vision, y'all.
Come on, sir.
I saw myself on a stage, not with Harry, but doing what Harry did. But God said, well, let me just put you on the stage with him. I'm done, y'all. I'm done. All right. So our
yes,
I hope you heard me, man. I hope fam out there, because I'm looking at all them names. I hope y'all heard me, man.
Yes, sir.
Difficult, uncomfortable, courageous conversations. And typically those conversations are difficult and uncomfortable and courageous around topics of race as it relates to our students and staff, etc. So what I've created, my guests know this, but I want to make sure. I see you, Dan. I see you. We got to talk sometime too. What I did to the fam out there, the special fam that are regulars here, I decided I needed my words to be exact. So I don't want to be up here like I got notes, but I'm going off the top of my head. I wanted to make sure that what I wrote is what I say, because as I say to all my guests that come on here, my guests go back to work on Monday, or in Dr. Griffin's case, he's relying on them contracts, right? So I don't want to misspeak. So I'm going to be reading exactly what I wrote, and I took a lot of time on these planes making sure that my language was good. So I'm going to give them these 7 scenarios if time permits, and then I'm not going to ask any of them to answer any of these questions. I'm just going to put it out there, and if anybody doesn't feel comfortable with it, then I'm going to jump in and respond to my own question. But for this first one, having difficult, uncomfortable conversations with staff can be rather difficult, uncomfortable, and courageous. Everybody's not going to do it. Everybody doesn't do it. I know that definitively because I have those conversations with principals. Sometimes the politics are just too strong, too thick for a principal to feel comfortable in engaging staff in conversations that are uncomfortable or difficult or courageous. So my question to you, what might be your recommendation to a leader? We're not, and as I said to my guests offline, I'm not asking them what they've done unless they just want to volunteer that. I'm asking them to be consultant here. What would be your recommendation to a leader in terms of how do I prepare my staff for that difficult conversation? And allow me to preface that just because I just want to be clear. Principal Kafele. If it's difficult, if it's uncomfortable, if it's courageous, I'm not going to my staff, bam, we in it. I'm not doing that. I'm going to build you to a point where I feel we're ready for this. But that's me. I hope I'm not giving somebody's response. Anybody can jump in on that. What do you think?
I'll jump in. I think first off, anyone that's having a courageous conversation or about to partake in one gonna have some apprehension because you don't know what's gonna be said. You don't know what's the outcome, the temperament of the person who's delivering the message. That matters as well. And you want to always provide resources. You want to be able to give resources to your people. By that I mean articles. You want to be able to give them, and you want to be able to use the instructional practices that you touting to them when you provide it to them. For instance, if race is an issue, I might give them some data or resources on it, and we might do a chunk reading assignment in order to get it done. Then we share out so that we can have different perspectives from it. Next, you got to provide data. Data, we talk about a lot of time, DNA. Data needs action. So
That's good.
if we're looking at the black and brown percentages, we got to provide that in black and white to our teachers. That's going to allow us to better collaborate on solutions to put them in situations that they can be successful. So looking at that data, providing those resources, and providing professional development that resides around that. So those are three important things that you could do to foster those conversations and create an environment of trust and vulnerability.
Love it. Anybody else want to jump in?
And that's so powerful, Joe. I mean, Doctor. I respect that. I know that. I respect that wholeheartedly because a lot of times there are issues with these conversations because people are uninformed, and because they're uninformed, they have issues with it, and they kind of get their cues from what their experience, how they felt, what their mama's saying, daddy's saying, what the barbershop is saying, so they're not informed properly. But I would answer this as well to go along with that is this. That those conversations, these difficult conversations or challenges, when you're to have this conversation, it's not random. Like, it's not random. The reason why I say it's not random is because, like, we don't have time to gossip and just to talk about it just to talk about it. It must have to do with the vision that you have for your school, the vision that you have for your students, the vision that you have for your educators. So what is your vision? So when you talk about what I do, is really got to understand something. Because you're the leader, people aren't just looking at what comes out of your mouth. They're also looking at your actions too. What do I mean by that? Well, when you start talking, you start bringing on this type of conversation, understand that your humanity as a leader is either going to be on display or on trial. I'll say it one more time. Your humanity itself, it will either be on display or on trial, meaning the way you have been interacting with individuals, the way you treat your staff members, the way you suspend or the way you treat students, that consistency is going to be seen as pretty much your qualification to have that proper communication or not. I go back now to vision. What's the vision of your campus or your school? When you set that tone, then the conversation has to be in alignment with what we believe about our kids, all kids. That means your vision can't just be some lingo. It must be what you really mean. And in my district, I'll just share this. In my district, we have a part of our vision is to discover the person, purpose, and platform of our students, right? That means we want to help kids find out who they are, why they exist, and what they're going to do about it. So that means you're going to now have to filter that conversation about race or whatever uncomfortable challenge, whatever it is, filter that through the vision of your school, filter that through the purpose of your school, filter that through the humanity of you as a leader to make sure that it is properly qualified to have a conversation. Once you set that tone, then we can have a conversation that fits into what we believe and not into what we feel and what people are saying. It has to be contextual.
It's powerful stuff. We talking about that preparation for the conversation.
Yeah,
because we can't just dive right into it. And so many. This is not the community center. This is the school, right? This is the district. Tarina, anything? If not, don't worry about it.
Oh, I love what both of the gentlemen have already said. The only thing for me that I know I usually will try to do, and I know they do it as well, is I would have my talking points before, just because sometimes things get maybe emotional or heated because you never know which way it's going to go. So my biggest thing is making sure I at least have my talking points so I don't forget some of the things that I wanted to talk about. But I wrote down that nugget about DNA, data needs action. Yeah. We just set up data walls, our new data wall system. I'm literally going to press this out, make a sign that data needs action to add to that wall. So thank you. I love that. Definitely.
Data needs action. I love it. To the fam out there, once again, I said I'm going to read because I just want to make sure that I say what I wrote as opposed to me getting up here freestyling and then the wrong thing is said. So there are so I'm gonna give you all 6 different scenarios here. There are populations of students in our schools who are products of historically marginalized, underserved, oppressed groups, which have implications for school readiness on a variety of levels. My question then, how does a leader engage staff? And I guess I'm talking staff meeting at this from here on. How does a leader engage staff in this conversation when staff may not be knowledgeable or conversant in what it means to be a product of a historically marginalized, underserved, oppressed population of young people?
Wow. I'd say that's powerful. I think one of the things you can engage staff in is this: it's exposure. I mean, going back to what we've been talking about informing our students, so informing our teachers. Exposure is big, and so if you are in a community, if you serve a community, and you yourself can't say that you know what it feels like to be a part of that community, can we just be real? When I was a principal, we were blessed to serve a community that was just like that. But we had a diverse group of individuals who weren't necessarily familiar, but they'd been there for years. And so one of the things we did was this: we would always challenge students to, when they get into our environment, this is how you should act, this is how you should behave, and all of that. But we don't go into our own kids' environments and know how to act, behave, and all those things. This is why are we telling our kids to come into our environment, yet many of our educators won't go into theirs. So what we did was, again, and to know the struggles. We were our school had the highest poverty rate in the entire county. And not only that, all the most heinous crimes in our community were done by some of our relatives of the kids that interned at our school. So our kids knew these struggles. They knew the challenges of being in these environments. So what I did was we took our teachers on a bus ride. And it wasn't a bus ride as if it was like a museum. No, we actually went on a bus ride, got off the buses to interact and engage with the communities of our students and family members, preparing them to come back to school. But in doing that, became very emotional for our staff members because they noticed that our children were being raised in environments they had no clue they were dealing with. Like, you tell them to do their homework, but you're not understanding what they have to go through just to do their homework. They saw houses boarded up. They saw our homes. Some of our kids' homes were locked by doors, by chairs holding the door so that the door wouldn't open. I mean, we saw houses put together just to two trailers put together to form a double wide trailer, but there's no roofing done, so it rains in the house. I mean, our teachers saw these things. They saw unmanicured neighborhoods and all the things. But then, just to not toggle under emotions, because I believe in empathy over sympathy, meaning we don't feel bad for our kids, and I'm not going to feel bad for you. We want to say we are where those students are. Now we move to the other side of the neighborhood. So now we moved across the tracks and went to a predominantly very affluent neighborhood, and they drove those neighborhoods and saw what kids are going up there. What it did was it awakened something in our teachers to say, you know what? It's one thing to read and to study the data and all those things, but another thing to actually be a part of that data, to be a part of that experience. I didn't have to talk to our teachers about the power of building relationships. It stirred up something on the inside of them to say, no, I need to build relationships. I need to give them a picture of what you see is not where you're going to end up. And so exposure, I believe, is huge. I believe engagement is huge. And then lastly, I'll say this: I believe in equity. I believe in not just giving children everything at the same way, but also giving children what they need. Every child don't need the same thing. And so we had to realize that when it comes to differentiated instruction, you got to really meet the needs of those you serve, even when those needs are differently. As leaders, if you have to differentiate, if teachers should differentiate for their students, leaders, we do the same thing for our teachers. And those are the things we had to do, and we're doing. I believe that's a good way to help build that into our students and teachers.
That's powerful stuff. And I'm looking at the thread, and everybody on here feels it's also equally as powerful. So good stuff. Anybody want to jump in? I know Tarina's messing around that camera, but go ahead, Dr. Griffin.
Yeah, definitely good stuff, Hayward, especially about taking the staff into the community on a bus ride. We actually did that before, so that's wonderful. But also, you have to take these situations and turn them into chances for opportunity.
Yeah.
And by framing that to your teachers and your educators as a chance to do something great, a chance to impact the community, a chance to inspire, a chance to motivate, a chance to put students as well as teachers, because colleagues work together as well. It's a full collaborative atmosphere when you got a high performing school. So putting people in situations where they could be successful, that's going to be really, really important as well. So that's one of the things that I'd like to add.
Yeah, absolutely. Tarina, you good? No, she trying to get that connection right. Let me go to this next one. And I really don't have anything to add to anything you said. That was powerful. But just in terms of those, I've been on those buses.
Yeah,
I've had opportunity to in a couple of districts to ride with staff and see how eye-opening it was for them that they had no idea. Right. But instead of me going deeper into that, because it's gonna come up in one of these questions. So let me keep going. In a racially diverse school, there could be categories of students, as they call subgroups, whom, according to school data, are underperforming compared to other groups. For example, Black and Latino students on one side of the achievement gap, while white and Asian students are on the other side of the achievement gap in this scenario. How does a leader therefore engage staff in honest, authentic, real conversations about the why of this reality without fracturing the team as a whole?
Go ahead, Joe. I see you about to say something.
Okay. I think it starts with helping the team create a sense of self-awareness, being able to be self-aware of their own biases, of their own interpretations or own misinterpretations of how people can be. I think providing them with opportunities to converse about these things, whether it be in smaller groups or whether it be in bigger groups. I think bringing in people to inform them as well about the different biases and how it affects Black and brown students specifically. I mean, I lived that. I grew up in Mississippi. I hadn't always been in California on this diverse side of the world. So as a Black male coming up in school, I know exactly how it feels to be overlooked, to be minimized, for your thoughts to not be taken into consideration or not even heard at times. So when we have educators on our team, we have to be able to provide them with that context. Because they don't understand it, especially if they're not from that environment, if they've never been if they've never experienced bias or racism. So those are some important things that we can do to kind of frame those conversations and help our educators bring out the humanistic aspect of what they do as educators.
That's it. Joe, man, I appreciate you bringing that, because, man, when we as educators, we spend more time with our students, our faculty and staff than we do with our own families. And y'all, I love my family. I didn't get married to my wife because I wanted to only spend 4 hours with her every day. You know what I'm saying? So we're literally with other families more than we're with ours. And so reality of it is we're doing life work with these kids. We're doing life work with these teachers. So because we're doing life work with them, one of the things we don't lead with enough is the power of relationships, like the power of building relationships where not just so we can have these uncomfortable conversations, but because I care about you, because I care about these students. So you build relationships with them. And so if that has been the tone set, leaders don't take that for granted, the power of building relationships. Even if you have to do this as a leader, what I did was I would set up interviews with my teachers again after they already got the job, just to sit down and get to know them. Like, I don't care if it's scheduled 15 minutes to spend time asking about who they are as a person and who they are as a professional. When you invest into the person and not just a professional, then you're a leader that can be trusted. I'll say it one more time. When you invest into the leader or the teachers and students, but if you invest into the teachers as people and professionals, then you're a leader that can be trusted. And so when it comes to having those conversations and preparing them for that, it's really important to recognize that we can't politicize purpose. And so if my purpose is to help, then helping you sometimes is going to mean that we're going to have uncomfortable conversations. And so it does mean that we recognize that we have biases. So there are actually bias tests that we can take. So you can take it off yourself and say, well, I'm doing this and I'm inserting myself into this and I'm telling you this is how I feel and you better not do, I get, and you should set standards, obviously. But there are bias tests that you can take if you're not ready to share with everybody what you feel. But let me share this with you as well. Let's be honest about the data that's out there so you can really spend time getting to know your students. And you can reflect the fact that sometimes there's data that's out there that might reflect the data that's inside of your school and you might not even know it. There's a research from the American Psychological Association that says that many of our Black and brown students are viewed as 4.5 years older than what they really are. Let that sink in. That many of our kids, when they, especially if they're being decriminalized and dehumanized, so it's not some random thing that there's and I'm not trying to y'all just stay with me. I'm not being involved political on this. There's some random thing. It's not random that there's a lot of issues with how young people and African Americans are feeling like they're being treated criminally. Well, there's data that says some of our kids are being seen as 4.5 years older. Many of our Black and brown kids don't even get to be seen as kids. That's something we got to pay attention to because it's reflected in even our discipline data, where our kids are suspended. African American students and Latino students are suspended at alarming rates, and they're just doing kid stuff. So we got to get to the point where we start training children to be children and not looking for them to mess up so we can say, I gotcha, because I saw what they did on TV or I heard what they're rapping about. And so because you rap, those songs are about crime and drugs, then maybe, yes, sir. I see somebody saying perception is powerful. That's exactly right. We got to be careful about how we perceive. And so we got to dig into those conversations. And so it could be, I finished with this. It could be that we bring in data and have data conversations about what articles, like the article I just brought up, bring in some articles and say, what do you think about this? The fact that little kids, a 4-year-old has to be seen as almost a 9-year-old. So if he hits somebody in the 4-year-old classroom, then that's assault. Really? Yeah. So we got to be careful as leaders about and not criminalizing our kids because they are kids and not forgetting that we were once children too. That's right.
Strong stuff. Anything else? Let me throw my 2 cents in here. Back in 2020, when America was on fire, I started getting a lot of emails and inboxes on social media from my white colleagues, and it was so what's the word I'm looking for? I guess I was just elated that so many felt comfortable in asking me the question, Principal Kafele, how can I learn more about systemic racism? Like what books could you recommend to me? And I said to them, I was saying to all of them, I said, I know what you're looking for. You want to understand what you're seeing now, like the outrage that you're seeing in the streets of America. You want to understand that because students were coming. The thought was that all students were going back to school that summer, right? That fall. And it turned out it didn't work out that way in a lot of places. But my response to them was, I said, I can't recommend the books you want. I know the books you want. I know all those titles. I got some of them sitting on the shelf, some of these shelves in this house. I said, what I want to recommend to you, matter of fact, let me word it this way. I said, you'll never understand what's happening in 2020. You don't understand what happened in 1620. Going back to 1619. I said, in order for you to understand today, you got to understand what got us here. Wow. And that's a 400-year journey. So I said to them, I want you to read this book, Before the Mayflower by Lerone Bennett Jr., From Slavery to Freedom by John Hope Franklin, Introduction to African Civilizations by John Jackson, because I want you to know who Black people were before they came to America. because even that's distorted in terms of the information. I want you to know about the scientific, the mathematical, the architectural, the engineering, genius, and so on of Black people, and as to why they were brought here in the first place.
Wow.
Right? It wasn't like they were somewhere, the stereotype savage somewhere. No. These were agriculturalists. These were scientists. Except I said, I need you to know that. I need you to know who was being brought over here to build this country. And then lastly, I wanted them to read The Miseducation of the Negro. So the beautiful thing to all that was the volume of people who went on and bought these books and responded to me, oh my God, Principal Kafele, I've been teaching 25 years, 30 years, 15 years. I have been lying to the children for my entire career.
Yes, sir.
I knew nothing about what was in this history. I said, yeah. So now that you've been reading this history, 2020 makes more sense to you because prior to reading these books, you knew nothing about Black people. So so I'm with everything you guys just said. And because I think historically all the time, I wanted to throw that piece in there, because that's most of the stuff is. I wanted to throw that piece in there as well, that folks have to. So ultimately, and I'm gonna shut up in a second because this ain't my show, it's yours. Ultimately, when the teacher, and I don't care if the teacher's Black, white, Latino, Asian, purple, I don't care. If the teacher doesn't know who these children are historically speaking, then I don't really know who they are. I got to know who you are historically to have better understanding and grasp of what I'm dealing with contemporarily. Wow. Right, but we'll leave that right there. What's our brother Salome on here saying, man? I don't usually do that, but yes, that's our brother. I can't pretend I don't see him, right? Every child, he gonna say that. Every child is who's crazy about him, right?
Man, yes, sir.
Say that. That's not being Salome, man.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
Hey,
I've been hearing that 20 years.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, we
Kafele.
before the Mayflower, our history didn't begin on the plantation.
Yeah. Can I add about a comment about and I apologize. I wasn't able to join on my laptop and I was on my phone and I've never turned off my
technology right.
Yeah, my notifications. So I apologize for that, for any disruption. But I wanted to say too, I read Before the Mayflower when I was, I think, second or third year teaching at King's when middle school, because we read that text for the Black History Challenge with the 100 Black Men of America, their competition. And that book opened my eyes greatly. I was amazed that my middle schoolers were reading this and the high schoolers that for this competition. And it is amazing. And all of the books that you've talked about, I have all of them. I've read parts of most of them and just I've learned more about Black history, African-American history as I've been a teacher than I did before when I was a student. And that is definitely key. It just helps give so much background and content and context to who we are and who our students are and our families are.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. The younger, the better to be exposed to these books. You all know I'm a late bloomer, so that's why I went so hard once I started reading, because I had to catch up for all them 10 years that I missed when I was dealing with my mess. Let me go to this next one. And Alexia, I see your question, and we're gonna definitely handle that one too. Definitely. So just hang in there with us. A school's data reveals that there's a disproportionate number of Black and brown students being disciplined and suspended in a school where Black and brown students are in the minority and the teaching staff is predominantly white. I get a zillion calls that come in over that particular question. My question then is, how does a leader engage staff in the uncomfortable conversation of possible biases while simultaneously not being able to connect culturally with Black and brown students? Now, I want to add Alexia right here. Alexia said, what does one do if teachers are resistant to self-awareness, right? So given that question, let me read it again. How does a leader engage staff in the uncomfortable conversation of possible biases with that disproportionality in disciplinary referrals while simultaneously not being able to connect culturally with black and brown students in the first place. And I might add, y'all, not just the white teacher not connecting culturally. It could be the black teacher who is not connecting culturally with black and or brown children. And then you got that teacher that's resistant, as I put on the stage, on the platform. What are your thoughts, somebody?
Go on, Hayward.
Yeah, the reality of it is that there is no one size fits all when it comes to educating our students. And I say that because when even for you, when we think for us as educators and leaders, when we think culturally, we often really acquiesce to black and white. But culture is also age. Culture is how our beliefs, our values, and so it goes back to, you got to know your students, you got to know your teachers as well. Because for one student, you might get mad at that child for yelling out in class when that's literally the only way they talk at home. You know, and they have to yell because they might be the youngest in the house, and the only way they can get somebody to listen to them is through yelling. And so you got to learn the students, you got to learn your parents as well. So it's a community thing, but it goes back to getting to know your students, and then also understanding that data tells a story. And so for that person that says they struggle with self-awareness, and so again, I said earlier about differentiating teachers. So those who struggle with self-awareness, sometimes you have to, individuals like that, you got to deal with them one-on-one. You know, obviously you obviously want to have somebody with you when dealing with that, but bringing the data before them. There are data out there that can help, that tells us, all data tells a story, 100%. All data tells a story. And that's why I go back to knowing your vision, because how does the story of this data fit into the vision of our school? How does the story of this data fit into the vision that we have for our students? And so you bring the data there and you tell the story, and then you ask questions about the implications of the data on our students and on our communities as well. Because you're not just principals of your school, you're principals of your community. So when you discipline your students, what are you saying about your community? When you discipline your students, and so that's why you got to spend time getting to know them. And so doing that, recognize that if I see this pattern going this one way, oftentimes, and I used to tell teachers this, if the patterns are going in one way and it all points to one direction, then it's oftentimes not always the students that's the issue. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and recognize, well, there may be me. Why do I say that? Educators always say we went into the profession to make a difference. So we went into the profession to make a difference. Why are we still allowing the same thing to repeat itself? If we went into the profession to make a difference, then leaders bring this before you and say, y'all, we got to make a difference. Like, this is data. The data says that we are disproportionately suspending and disciplining African-American males at alarming rates, black and brown students at alarming rates. Look at this data and then compare it to what we're seeing in incarceration rates. Look at the data and says, y'all, we have the opportunity. I think you said it earlier. We have the opportunity to make a difference. We got to paint the pictures. Leaders, we got to be visionary leaders. We got to paint the picture, and then we got to allow our data to help us tell a story that's either getting us towards the image that we want to see, or if that image that we want to see is called cognitive dissonance. You have a school that says, I believe in all our kids, but the practices show something totally different. If your practices don't align with your beliefs, that's a problem. Your data reflects the beliefs of your school. Your data is not nothing's random. Your data reflects the beliefs of your school. And so if your data is in opposition of your beliefs, if your data is in opposition of your vision, we get the opportunity to make a difference.
Yeah. Wow. Your data is a reflection of the beliefs of your school. I buy into that wholeheartedly. Anybody else?
I think one thing, especially when you talk about data as well, one thing that we just as a district, we've been doing more with the multiple tiered support systems of support behavior and PBIS. And really one thing I think that has helped us is we've been focusing more on the positives. So because a lot of times we always look at that, that top 5% of the students that are having the most challenging behaviors. The last few years, we've been able to do more things where we've been promoting and encouraging the positive behaviors, the students that are doing it right. And so we've tried to have like monthly celebrations for those students that don't have any office referrals, and being able to do some of those things, because a lot of times we were finding our kids were doing what they were supposed to do, but we weren't focusing on the positives. And I think that has been one thing that has definitely been able to help us. And we've been able to see some changes with that, and also having to change that mindset or that mind shift of, well, they're supposed to behave. But sometimes some of our students, they just need that encouragement and that positive interaction and the praise, because a lot of times our students that were doing their jobs weren't getting the praise and just the acknowledgement, versus a lot of times more of that time was focused on those few students that were doing the disruptions or causing the misbehavior. And so we have really been conscious, not only at our school, but as our district, with positive focusing on those kids that are doing what they're supposed to do. Just like we want to make sure we're, as the principal, I want to make sure with my leadership team that we're focusing on the positives. Yes, addressing those things that maybe aren't going well, but making sure that we are focusing and making sure our teachers and staff that are doing well and doing right are also acknowledged, because sometimes you only focus, or more of the focus is on what's going wrong. And so we've seen a lot of change by just being able to do more with the initiatives of our district with the positive behaviors. And that has been helpful because it does show, we've been able to see kids are looking forward to those positive, whether it's the weekly drawings that we do or the monthly activities that we do. Kids want to go, so they're striving to meet the expectations. And we know some of our kids are going to struggle with that, just for different, whether maybe they do have just some challenges that we know. And so we're trying to work with those kiddos in different ways to be able to help promote and encourage the positive behaviors that we're looking for.
That's good.
Love it. Love it.
And
love
I just will add to that, Principal Kafele, because we talked a little bit about self-awareness as well. As we add to our educator self-awareness, and you can do that in a number of ways. Leadership assessments are one of the best ways to do it, because it provides actual data, and it's not just me taking a subjective view, but giving them something that's there for them to improve upon. And secondly, if misbehavior is your biggest issue, there are a whole lot of other issues that are not going right. That means that perhaps there's some issues within the staff. It may be some issues between the teachers and the principals. But if behavior is the biggest overarching issue in your school, that means that you need to be focusing more on your instructional inputs, your cultural inputs, and your organizational leadership inputs, so that that discipline will automatically alleviate some.
Yeah.
Take the focus off of the discipline. We got to remain positive in our schools.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, to the fam out there, two of my three guests are also consultants on the professional side, authors, etc. So I want to just take a brief commercial pause. And because, you know, as the regular fam knows, these sessions go long, and I don't want to lose folks in terms of my two of the guests, because Tarina, you're not doing any professional consulting, are you?
Not yet.
Not yet. So, and I'm gonna let Dr. Griffin speak for himself, but this is hot off the press. In fact, it's so hot I can't even keep it in my hand for too long, because it's blazing hot. It just came off the press. It's called Empowering Educational Communities, a guide for teacher principal collaboration. So you can go right to Amazon and get yourself a copy. Put Joe's name. Let me put his name on the screen, and just put his name in the Amazon search, and it'll come right up. Or just put the title, Empowering Educate. But it's probably better to put his name. I found with a lot of authors, and you can get the book. But talk real quick, Dr. Griffin. Talk to them about how to get the book and how they can book you to come out and present in their schools and districts, conferences, etc.
Thank you, Principal Kafele. So the book that Principal Kafele just showed you all, I show it again as well. Empowering Educational Communities, a guide for teacher principal collaboration, is no other book like this, you all. It bounces teachers' views between principal views and allows them to bridge the gap to come together. Then it's topped off with real world experiences that I had as teacher, assistant principal, as well as principal, that tie into the various affirmation themes. Further than that, you have the matching professional development that accompanies each chapter. It was a vision from God. I just kind of like Principal Kafele. Once I started it, I couldn't stop it. It goes right along in line with all of my other works that also focus on collaborative processes, and that's the DIP approach for student and adult success, as well as the DIP approach for educators. So In addition to that, we do leadership assessments, professional development as well. And you can find me on any of the social medias at Dr. Joe Griffin Speaks. I have an updated website. Please check it out, Dr. Joe Griffin Speaks. And I also added a blog page on it. I just uploaded the first blog, Demystifying Discipline Culture. That's discipline-culture, which is the collaborative way in which teachers and administrators work together to handle issues daily. And it's twofold, how that affects the instructional practices that teachers are willing to use. And you got student to student, student to adult, as well as adult to adult issues that affect everything we do in our schools. And we can't leave a blind eye to it. So make sure you pick up that book. It just released on yesterday, and we definitely need your support. And it is endorsed by Principal Kafele himself.
Yeah, that's why I got it all out of the press, man.
As well as Dr. Pedro Nogueira. And I didn't tell them that they were both endorsing it because I wanted to make sure that the product was what I thought it was, because they're not putting their name just on anything. So make sure you go get that, you all.
I appreciate you. Here's some others you could check out too, y'all. He didn't even know I was gonna put this on the screen, but this is also work of Dr. Griffin as well. Go to Amazon. Now also Hayward John is the same thing, author. I don't have the books here. And consultant. Let them know how they get in touch with you, how they follow you, all that kind of thing.
Yes, sir. Again, Principal Kafele, I really appreciate you so much. Just like Dr. Griffin said, I know you don't play about your platform at all. And so we don't take it lightly that you invite us on your platform. So been looking up to you for years, kind of like the Harry Wong situation. I'm having my Harry Wong Principal Kafele moment right now. I'm gonna scream when I get off in a minute, but I do want to say my website is haywardjohn.com. So it's the way it's spelled on the screen, but it's HAYWARDJEAN.com. All my social handles are on there, and then a booking link. I think my wife just put it in the chat. And then my shout out to my wife, but then also all my social media handles, and then multiple ways to reach me as well. I do have a book. I'm very passionate about building communities. I feel like I'm an undercover agent as an educator to really reach into schools to help children find out who they are and what they've been put on this earth to do, as well as educators who work with them. I wrote a book. Something that was bothering me is I started noticing that a lot of our children are more influenced by individuals outside of our schools than they were by us. I'm like, no, like I don't see these rappers who are speaking about killing and stealing showing up at funerals of their customers or their clients at all. And so I said, why are our entertainers having more of an influence on our children than we are? And so I wrote a book to kind of deal with. It's not an assault on the genre, but it is an assault on the irresponsibility of the genre. And so I touch that, and I share ideas and strategies on how young people can kind of move away from ideas that are diverting them from being who they're called to be into who they can be. And it's right here. There's strategy in here that can help. It's a quick read as well, but it's very encouraging and uplifting from every perspective of a person who's an educator and who cares about kids. But again, my website, haywardjohn.com, booking link there to reach out to me, and I can provide support. A lot of our our presentation titles are on the site as well. So thank you again, Principal Kafele.
Good stuff, and we're gonna do it again at the end. Okay. Right? So let's go. Here's a next scenario. In an urban or rural low-performing school, it has been discovered that due to the challenges of the environment upon which the children reside, staff expectations for student academic success or performance is rather low. Right. So the correlation between what staff see and perceive, and therefore the expectations of students are low. My question is, how does a leader engage staff in a way that they ultimately believe in the possibilities of the students that they serve, despite their neighborhood and home environmental challenges? So once again, this could be one of those uncomfortable, it could be one of those courageous, it could be one of those difficult conversations. How might we engage staff in that staff meeting when those expectations are low because of what they perceive in the environment?
I said earlier, and when I was talking, I said it's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is when you just feel sorry for them, or oh, poor children. Oh man, if it wasn't for their circumstances, they'd be where I am. To me, I can also borderline on arrogance. But then there's empathy. Empathy is when you sit where they are. Empathy is when you take time to spend time getting to know who they are and you care about them. One of the signs of low expectations and low standards when you're trying to address these issues is when you feel like you can throw money at a problem, right? And so you feel like, oh, because I have these issues, maybe we just bought a whole bunch of stuff or threw a lot of money at it. So I noticed there are a lot of individuals who get so much money in these schools to fix schools, and they spend more energy trying to find out how to spend the money than how to fulfill. I go back to what I said earlier, the vision of what it takes to get to know these students. It takes work. I thank you, whoever replicated that. Empathy is sitting where they are, getting to know your students and not throwing money at it. Why? Because the same mindset that may be fighting and that our children are struggling with or communities are struggling with ultimately is the same mindset that educators who have low expectations struggle with too. What do I mean? Well, a mindset is not necessarily the fact that or actually the issue of poverty or these kids who grow up in neighborhoods. It's not necessarily the fact that they can't do. It's just that they may not have the access. Well, guess who's the access point? Educators, you are the access point. You are the difference maker. You're the great, in a sense, equalizer. But if you keep seeing them from a standpoint of what they do not have and what they cannot do, instead of building them from a place of what they have and what they can do, then you'll realize they may be more wealthy than we are. Then you might realize they have more stuff going for them than they have going against them. But it's going to take us to see in them what they cannot see in themselves and just see what they see in themselves, right? Because so many times a lot of students who struggle with those challenges have been told that they're not going to go farther than their circumstances, when in actuality, we know that's not true. Yeah. We know that's not true because many of the educators standing in front of them, they went further than what they had circumstances that challenged them. What do I mean? Everybody didn't grow up rich, but some of you may have grew up poor in love. You may have had everything that money could buy, but you didn't have family sitting with you to give you guide you and give you values. So we got to recognize that our children have needs and we have needs. And if we would stop looking at just their deficits and start looking at their strengths and start looking at the fact that they all need love, they all need an adult Principal L that's crazy about them, then we can start seeing them for who they are. It's not about money. It's about a mindset. And that mindset needs to be fixed within the kids. But more importantly, it needs to be fixed within how we see our children too.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in. It's about having love in your heart for what you do. The moment that we start to lower the expectation, that's the moment we fail students. So we've got to change the narrative. We got to shift perspectives. And one of the things that we can do is highlight student success stories with teachers, bring back students that have been successful, that have come up through that same environment, who have lived it, survived it, and maximized it. And then also, and this is a good strategy, you all, that I used to do at schools, a career expo, where you bring in 40, 50 professionals that have graduated from that particular school, or that may not have graduated from that school, because you might not have enough alumni to do that. But bring them in, set up workshops, 30 to 45-minute workshops. Let the students choose in advance. You got to plan this out. It's not something you can just do off the whim. You got to plan it out, but have the students in advance choose which 4 or 5 they want to see, which professionals they want to see, which career path they want to see in action, and actually bring them in. And this simultaneously impacts the teachers. So those are some good things that you could do in order to boost up the perceptions of what we're able to do and what we're not able to do.
That's it.
And I agree with both of the gentlemen. One of the things too is just being able to also, yes, we know maybe some of the deficits our kids are coming from, and knowing those, acknowledging them, but realizing that those are just a speed bump, and we just have to keep that, keep the bus moving, and we got to keep going, be able to figure out how to know what things we need to help our students with, but being able to take them further, because if we don't believe in them, who's going to believe in them? And so I think that's one of the things is just, and it's also some of those tough conversations is not everybody is meant to be in our schools, in all of the schools, and being able to be okay with that and having those conversations. And it's nothing against the staff member, it just may be that just acknowledging, because we all have biases for different things, or different, just our background brings a lot to it. But just being able to have those difficult conversations, sitting down, because we know that some people, like I know that there are some schools I maybe am not cut out for. I love being where I am. I love, because I feel like, for one, our students and our community need to see staff that still live in the community, that went through, like, I'm a product of the Omaha Public Schools, and I try to make sure I tell my students that. And also, it sounds weird, but reminding my students that I was a teacher. I'm still a teacher, but my current role as teacher is principal, and letting my kids know, oh, I used to teach fourth grade. When I taught, I'll give them examples. Oh, we have some students that are alumni of from at my middle school that I went to and taught at. So I try to make sure that my kids know that I went to the same schools that they will go to, or maybe that their siblings go to, or that their parents go to. But just remembering that it's important to know, yes, sometimes what deficits are coming, but also knowing how to move past that. Keeping that in mind when we're doing our planning and prep, or we're doing our professional development, because yes, we've got to understand that, but also know how we can continue to move further and take our students and ourselves. I think that's one of the things. I'm constantly growing and learning, and I'm making notes the best that I can about your books to be able to get those, because everybody has different perspectives and different experiences that are going to help us grow in our positions, to help our teachers and staff and our students continue to grow.
That's it.
Love it. Love it.
Oh
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to connect to that point and to that thought you just said about it. And you really just amplified it even more when you talked about being a learner. I think we forgot as educators overall that we're in the business of teaching and learning. And here's how we forgot, or we misconstrued that. We made it feel like we're the teachers and they are the learners. The students are the learners. Like, we're the teachers and the students are the learners, when in actuality, we're the teachers and the learners, and they're the teachers and the learners too. I'm going to say it clearly again. The students are the teachers and the learners as well, and we are the teachers and the learners. But I think we separated it, and have almost become segregated in that thought, as if we're the only ones that can teach and they're the only ones that can learn, when in actuality, we're not just modeling teaching. As educators, we should be modeling learning too. We should be teaching them how to learn. And so while you do that, you're not just teaching students, we got to learn students. And when you learn the students become the teachers, and they teach you. Really quick point. I did an assembly the other day, and I was speaking and just speaking life to them. And the kids kept saying, the whole time. And I wanted to initially tell them, stop interrupting me while I'm talking. And then the kids pulled me to the side and was like, Mr. John, when we say, that's what kids say now. Whenever we hear some good things, we all say, Or a child approached me the other day and said, Mr. John, you ate, Mr. John. And I was like, ate what? What are you saying? You ate means you did a great job, Mr. John. That was fire. And then the kids are using different words and lingo. And I think educators are getting offended by what they do not know. Our kids are using so much lingo. The word cap, that's a multi-meaning word now. Cap doesn't just mean, back in the day, we thought it meant I'm a bust a cap, you know. And then now cap means also a summary of a commentary. But you know another word, you know what else cap means? Y'all know it?
A lie.
You're telling a lie. The kids now they got so sophisticated where they just when they send you that, they just put a baseball cap now. You know what I'm saying? Our kids are geniuses. They have multiple ways of communicating and expressing themselves. But will we be humble enough as educators to learn them the way that they educate us, as opposed to making them learn the way that we teach? Like, we got to be back in the business of learning again, but learning your students and then letting them be teachers as well. You know the power of that? When teachers think they can, and when students think they can teach an educator, man, now we have breaking the lines at realizing that we are a school or an institution where we all teach and learn.
That's collaboration.
Yes, sir.
That's powerful stuff. Now you're gonna make me jump in here with y'all. See that, you know, when you said the see, that's new to me. But however, that goes all the way back to Africa.
Say it. Oh wow.
Because see, that's the call and response that shows up in the church.
Let's go.
Right. Yeah. So all they were doing was they were demonstrating their culture.
Yes, sir.
By the and see, like you had to ask them about it. They taught it, but it was in their DNA.
Come on, sir.
Yeah. So that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other conversation. But the other piece, you said you were doing the assembly. And for me, I've only led low performing schools. I've only led schools that just a lot of challenges within the building. So my style of leadership, this is not something that I try to impose on everybody when I'm out doing seminars, but my style of leadership is, well, therefore, I'm going to meet with my student body at least once a month, but I'm going to speak to them as far as convocation or PA every day. So they're going to hear from me on a daily basis. So, but when I do that once a month, that's called the state of the school message. That's the principal's meeting, right? So in the context of this question and everything I listen to you all say, I'm going to model for my staff. So I'm bringing them to the auditorium. Staff will be with them. And then this is just an example. I'm going to put bar graphs on the screen of schools of similar demographics to us. Everybody's not going to do this because everyone's not going to be comfortable doing this, but I'm very comfortable doing it. Of similar demographics to us, and I'm going to put those scores up because I don't want these false senses of security and hope from my students that we're doing okay. So let me show you, no, we're not doing okay, but kids that look like you in this environment are not doing okay either. Now let me jump on the interstate highway that in cities across America was built right through the Black community, and let's jump on Route 280 in New Jersey and go up to Livingston and Millburn and some of these other places, which are about 10 minutes from Newark, right? And now the homes are $1 million homes, right? $800,000, $900,000 homes, all that kind of thing. So now let me put their scores on the same screen. Now, someone might look at me and say, but isn't that creating a sense of inferiority? No, I'm giving them the reality. Here's what they're doing. And I'm going to say to my kids, but they're born with a wealth and privilege that you don't have, right? We're gonna put that on the table, right? So that they know that I know, or they may not realize. So these kids have money. These families have wealth. These kids don't have the challenges. Like some of y'all, I'll say to them literally, some of y'all have to walk certain blocks because you can't walk down this blood block, this Crip block, whatever it is. I'm saying this in the assembly. These kids that I'm referring to, they don't have them kind of challenges. They just walk to school, right? So now I'm modeling for staff. So I'm saying to my kids, despite the fact that in terms of privilege, you may not have what they have, but what you do have is intelligence and brilliance. They don't have anything on you there. So now, because I've been doing this so long and I have this relationship and this rapport, and my kids are going to listen to me until I'm fully exhausted. They're not going to like zone out on me. I'm saying to them, so are you telling me that you can't compete with these kids? And they yell out, no, sir. Meaning, no, I'm not saying that. I said, well, therefore, let's get back to class and demonstrate to the world what we are capable of achieving. So now what's happening, the reason I bring this up in this context is because that's me modeling for my staff.
Yeah.
My staff see, and I'm going crazy up there too. The other me, right? So I'm going crazy up there, running across the stage, jumping from the stage to the floor, whatever I got to do to make them know that I am serious about this message. They hear me, right? But then I go to my staff. Hey, staff, this cannot be a Kafele thing. Y'all got to buy into you have to believe what I believe. And staff, know this. I'm a product of this community. This thing is personal with me. This ain't just professional. This is my city, right? And so therefore I got a stake in this thing. They hear me. They hear me, and we're able to step this thing up, but I got to model it for them. Not just the dialogue, which is so important that I have with them, but now let us sit back and watch how Kafele is talking to these kids, to these babies, to these scholars, right? So good stuff. To the fam out there, my style is not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's, all of us, our style of leadership is typically rooted in who we are personally. That's like the instructional leader who used to be a teacher, and the only thing you have in your bag of strategies is what you used to do. Well, if that's all you got, then you ain't got nothing unless that teacher is just like you.
Wow.
Because see, my style, my flair, that all of that was a part of who I was as a teacher. But I can't now go to this reserved teacher and ask you to be me. So what else do I have to offer to that teacher?
Yeah.
Enough said, because we ain't here to talk instructional leadership.
That's
we got
good.
to the fam out there, we got 2 more. And we definitely, I hope y'all available November 30th so we can get to them talking points, right? So, all right, so I'm gonna lock that in today. So let me go to number 6. We got 2 more, y'all. The children of a neighborhood school live in an environment that is high crime, drugs, poverty, etc. The teachers are intimidated by their students' neighborhood and try to get out of the city as quickly as possible every afternoon after dismissal. My question: how does a leader engage staff in a way that, despite the challenges of the neighborhood, that they develop a level of compassion for the neighborhood, because the neighborhood is the children's immediate world?
Wow.
That's a good question. All right, first off, educators, they've got to see the student's neighborhood as a part of their identity. That's where they come from. So if you are in young people, where if you're disrespecting the neighborhood or not giving the neighborhood the respect that it desires, you're doing something wrong. You're already taking away the connection that you want to have with those particular students. So that's really important. So you could do community immersion activities, community forums, your parent advisory groups and things of that nature. You want to make sure that you try to bridge that gap, because the teachers, the educators have to see outside of what they see in the student. They have to see past that, understand that the neighborhood is a part of them. That's where they come from. And that's, as educators, we have to challenge ourselves to have that particular love in our heart, to stretch ourselves, to be better, to look at our self-awareness and understand where we are. And then when we understand where we are, we can better engage the staff and community.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody else want to delve in there?
I can definitely add. One of the things, it sounds, our school, there's like a area that's when you're kind of driving into our school, and every now and then it's kind of public property, the grass gets super high and it just doesn't look appealing. So it just made me think, so I've called the city, or sometimes it sounds weird, I'll get my mom's retired now, and so she's a retired speech pathologist and teacher. And so sometimes I'll be like, hey mom, can you help me make these calls? Like because sometimes that squeaky wheel gets the grease, and so she'll help me call, because sometimes it's just over the summer, and when it's back to school, that grass hasn't been cut. And one of the blessings, I have a wonderful engineer who will go further even off our school grounds and help pick up trash when he's outside picking up trash on our school property. And sometimes we have student groups that will go out there with some of our older students, for one, just taking pride in our own school property. And then further out, one thing that I tried to do, and I still do, like if we have parents that work in the neighborhood at the different businesses, back from when I was teaching, I had a dad who worked at the local gas station, and I may not be able to talk to him during the day because he couldn't be on his phone, but I purposely made sure I got my gas at the gas station that he worked at, so I could check in with him about his son, positive and negative. But also, it was also supporting the neighborhood, one of the businesses, and a parent that was a parent for my classroom. And that's one of the things too, is we haven't done it in a while. It's been a few years, but we did like a scavenger hunt in the neighborhood, where people went to the different businesses and the different programs in our community. This reminded me, we haven't done that in a while. And just so that they can see the positive things, we've got some great partnerships with our local YMCA, literally that's right up the street. And also a place called U-Turn, that is a wonderful organization that works with stopping gun violence. And so we partner with them usually a couple different, 3 to 4 times a year, with different activities. And so I think that one for sure helps our staff be able to see the positives that are going on in our community, and also just working with our students. Like if they are talking about, things that are not going well in the community, if there's something, if I know someone or we know someone that we can maybe help get something going with that, being able to do that. Our local police department is not far down the street. No, neither is our fire department. So just trying to get some of those individuals in our buildings, for one, to be able to see the positives of, you know, our local police department and our fire department. One of my teachers, her husband is a firefighter. So we try to get, and we have a teacher whose husband is a police officer. So trying to, actually another teacher is husband is a volunteer firefighter. So just being able to try to bring in those community partners as well is another way to be able to build the positive environment, and encouraging staff. Like local scooters, it's a local coffee shop. We did staff appreciation day, and we purposely bought gift cards, or no, we had an open tab where staff could go in before or after school that day. So we're supporting another local business. So we try to do some of those things, or being able to, when we bring food in, as much as we can, you know, working with local restaurants or local vendors, just to be able to promote the wonderful things that our community has available and brings to it.
Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to touch that. And man, I guess I almost want to meet that question with another question, but it's rhetorical. And that is, I mean, one, like maybe two questions. One, did we not know what we signed up for? Or, you know, and so I asked that question by saying, did the neighborhood become high poverty, high crime, and drug ridden when the school came in? Like, was it like did the neighborhood just turn bad when the school was there, or was the school there and the neighborhood's like? So I'm trying to understand that we not know what we signed up for. And so, and I would never say that in a diminishing way, but more in a challenging and upbuilding way to say this: I've never seen a good answer run away from a hard question. I'll say it again. I've never seen a great answer run away from a hard question. When a great answer meets a hard question, that great answer is like, I can't wait to answer this. Like, it's like that great answer, like, let me out the gate so I can answer this hard question. What I'm saying is, as the educators, we are the answer to that problem. Now, many of you know, in Principal, you know, I believe in speaking life. I believe in saying what you want to see until you see what you said you saw. Meaning, I believe in seeing in our children what they don't see in themselves. So right now, if many of our children live in those neighborhoods of high poverty, high crime, and they're drug ridden, they may see themselves as that. But in actuality, they may live in that, but they're not that. They're not high poverty. They're not high crime. They're not drug ridden. That's not who they are. That's just where they live. And so the power of that is who you are can actually change where you live if the educator will speak to who they are. Like the power of an educator is, once you educators realize that I'm not just the principal of my school, but I'm the principal of my community. I'm not just a teacher of my classroom. I'm the teacher of my community. You will realize that whatever I teach my students, when I'm teaching with fire and passion, when I'm teaching their identity, when I'm teaching them skills that they can use, not just in the classroom, because I'm not just teaching them to pass a test. I'm teaching them to pass the tests of life. I'm teaching them to be good citizens, good leaders. I'm teaching to their identity. I'm teaching to who they are. And because of that, my teaching test scores, they're going to kill that just because of inevitability. But really, I'm teaching them past the test score and into how they're going to, because what sense will it make they pass a test, but they get killed in the neighborhood that we were afraid of? What sense does it make we pass a test and we say we're intimidated by them? Here's what I would say for an educator that looks at the neighborhoods like that. When you look at neighborhoods in that way, where you can't get away from them, when you're telling me you're intimidated by the neighborhood, so you can't wait to run from school, you're telling me you're really intimidated by the students. You're really intimidated. You're not. It's not the neighborhood. It's the students. Because the reality of it is, if you are there and you recognize your children need better than where they are, and because of that, you're the better. You're the better. And so here's what I've noticed because I've taught in those neighborhoods, I've taught in those conditions. What I've noticed so powerful is this: those neighborhoods would take care of you if you take care of the kids. I wasn't going to go there, but I'm saying the neighborhoods will take care of you when you take care of their babies. Because many of them in those neighborhoods, they don't want to be that. They just don't feel like there's another way. They didn't have a you as a leader. They didn't have a Kafele. They didn't have a Joe. They didn't have T. They didn't have you as their leader or their teacher. Because of that, they had to lean on. Tupac said the same thing. I know a lot of people love Tupac, but if anybody listened to an interview he did on BT one time, Tupac said this. Tupac said, man, if I would have had better role models, if I would have had a father figure, if I would have had people that loved me, he said, I wouldn't have turned out the way that I turned out. He said, when you hear my songs, you don't hear songs that were somebody that was guided by a positive leader. He said, you hear songs that come from a pimp's mouth, a drug dealer's mouth, a crime. He said, but these were my role models. He said, so I had to spill out what was put on the inside of me. But educators, and I want to finish this by telling you, educators, the word education comes from the Latin word educare, what means to draw out what's within. It's not about you putting something in the children. It's you bringing out the greatness that's already there. So you can't be intimidated by the thing you're supposed to be serving. Why would you be intimidated by who you love, who you're supposed to love? So I lastly say this, when I was an educator in those environments, I taught students with that level of mindset that I just introduced. In doing that, I noticed something powerful. I noticed that when I taught them with that love and that passion, I built community by telling them, you're not where you are. That's not how you're defined. When I did that, those students start taking the lessons that I taught them into the neighborhoods, and they started teaching their own. And what happened was those individuals, instead of me being afraid to go to their neighborhoods, those individuals came to my classrooms like, what are you teaching? I feel better when my kid comes to school. He didn't teach me all the songs and all the things. I'm learning the lessons from my child, vicariously from my child, by what you're teaching in the classrooms. So don't lose the hope that you can provide as a leader and an educator.
You said a whole word right there.
I know. I was trying not to be too long.
No. I'm saying that is in the parents learning vicariously through your message. That's all. That's powerful stuff. Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
To Lawanda out there, Watson, if you didn't see what I just put on the screen before, just go to principalkafele.com. Once again, principalkafele.com. Click the email address, and then I'll respond right back to you, and I'll be in your school as soon as we set up a date. Let's see, where we at? We got one more. Did everybody go that wants to go? What last one? In a school of predominantly Black and brown students, it is challenging to get parents to come out to meetings. There's a mindset amongst staff that many of the parents don't see the significance of education. That's a mindset. The leader vehemently disagrees with this mindset. So therefore, how does a leader engage staff in a discussion that this sort of thinking is actually deficit thinking that is detrimental to the children on so many levels? What are you thinking, somebody?
One of the things that we've talked about this as a staff, part of it, and one thing that we've done is, like, for our parent teacher conferences, it actually is something that came out of COVID, to where we were offering online where we could use Teams, and luckily our district has let us continue to do that. And so that's been very helpful, because sometimes some of our families, they've got to figure out someone that can watch littles to be able to come up to school, or parents' work schedules. And so one of the things that it's been helpful, we've opened our days, because normally we used to just have like parent teacher conferences, or maybe on a Wednesday evening and a Thursday throughout the day. But now teachers, as long as they get their hours that they're required by the district, they can set up their own schedule for that whole week of conferences. And one thing that we did do that I think has been helpful, staff have been able to offer morning conferences. So whether parents are coming before they drop their students off, or being on Teams before the school day starts, being able to offer some morning opportunities. And then that day that usually we don't have school on Thursday, and then Friday is off for teachers and most staff. But on that Thursday, we try to offer at least 3 hours during the daytime, because we know our parents work different shifts. So that has definitely been really helpful, is offering different opportunities for conferences times. And we try to be proactive with meeting times, because we know a lot of our parents' jobs, they need to know far in advance to be able to get the time off. So we try to work with that. Or if I have to have a parent come up to have a meeting, I always give them my business card and tell them, especially if they were late, with my cell phone number, their boss can call me if they need to verify that they were in a meeting with me. And so one of the things that we talk about too is some of our parents just can't get off work. Some of their schedules, or they don't have jobs that they can just leave. And so we just have to have those conversations. Not everybody works at a job like at a school, to where if I have a teacher or a staff member who needs to get off work to go have a conversation with their kids' parents or their kids' school, we can cover a class, but not all of our families, our parents, or guardians have jobs like that. So that's one thing that we've tried to talk about is just some of the jobs. And some of our parents are working 2 or 3 jobs to where they're not able to come. And so it's not that they don't care about their child, but they just may not be able to have that time off, or they just can't get away from the different jobs or their schedules. And so we've just been able to have different conversations about that over the years. And that's been able to, I think, help just shed some light.
Yeah, well, that's powerful, because you could have staff members sitting in a staff meeting not realizing that you got parents working 2 and 3 jobs, right? And all the other challenges that accompany being that quote unquote that urban parent who's struggling to make ends meet. So then one draws the false conclusion, these parents don't care about their kids. No, you don't know what it is to walk in their shoes.
Say it.
Yeah, good stuff. Let me yield to anybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that because I think my statement will probably connect to yours. And since we're talking about kids and their lingo, if I heard that question and you say that question, I would present one of their responses by saying that's cap. Say that they don't see the significance. A lot of our kids will say that's cap. Many times they don't see the significance because we as educators have not shown the significance. I mean, we've not. The other day I saw kids waiting on the at the bus stop. Some kids are waiting in the bus stops for hours and hours. And I'm like, are we giving our children an education worth the wait? You know, I mean, they waiting for that. So I mean, a lot of our parents don't see the significance. You know, they don't. We hadn't shown them that. But not only that, you know, when you want to show them, see, generalization is a scapegoat. That's a cop out. When you generalize things, that's an easy way to not do the work to find out, to drill down to find out why they're not showing up. You can easily just say they don't care. But when you set meet up at 5 o'clock, 5:30. So when you really want to do a meeting, if you really want to do it, you're going to meet them where they are. Case in point, right now, I have a neighborhood. I have a family across the street from me. Right now, if they would have called my name across the street from me, I wouldn't hear them. They can yell to the top of their lungs, calling me to a meeting right now from where they are and where I am, and I wouldn't hear them. But if they got closer to me, if they knocked on the door, if they came inside and sat with me and said, I want to meet with you. What I'm saying is we're too disconnected sometimes from our parents to be able to say, we want to meet with you. We have to bridge the gap, just like we got to get to know our students. And that's why I wanted to say, Catch, to your point, you got to know where they work, the times that they can be available. It's times we can meet them. And sometimes you might have to get a bus and bring them, or you might have to go to where they are and set up in there, whether it's apartment complexes or community centers or somewhere nearby. Sometimes you got to take the literal meanings out, the literal meetings that you want to have out of the box. But again, you cannot schedule a meeting with someone you're disconnected from. You got to get them closer to you or go where they are, then bring the invite.
That's right. Hey, Dr. Griffin, before you go,
okay,
I got to put this on the screen. Nicole Session said, how do we make parents, guardians, caretakers feel when they show up with our language, both verbally and physically? Some families are literally intimidated. I want to take that, and you can infuse that in your response, Dr. Griffin. But let me just respond to that. I want to respond to it with my speaker hat on, though, not my principal hat or my teacher hat. A lot of times when I keynote, as opposed to doing those sessions in library rooms and all that kind of stuff, when I keynote, a lot of times the client will say, we have a green room for you, so you can just chill there, and then when we call you, you come on out, right? Or they'll say you could sit backstage, and then when it's time for you to speak, we'll get you and you come on out. Here's my response. I say, no. I'd rather be sitting in the audience, and then you call me and I'll come from the audience to speak, if we could do that. Sometimes for filming purposes, they'll fight me on that. But if it's not a video thing, then they'll let me do it. And here's why. Because there are people there that would like to shake my hand. There are people there that would like to have a selfie. There are people there they would like to say, thank you, I got the job because of those interview videos and all those other scenarios, right? So I don't want to deprive, that word sounds a little bold, but I don't want to deprive them of that. I want to be with them. So what happens is it's a huge crowd that's around me, but the program didn't start. So I'm good with that. And I'm having a ball, but it's allowing me to have access to them and vice versa. And now we can converse. Like I see you there, Dr. Houston, and you saw that in New York City, right? I mean, when we were at the Marriott. So I want to make sure I'm there. So now, coupled with principalship, I'm out in the front of that building every day. A lot of parents are dropping their children off. So it gives me the opportunity to not just greet the students when they're coming in, but I go to the car if they stay in the car, and we high five, fist bump, chop it up right quick. And now, so when a Principal Kafele gets into trouble, like I did in the monologue, guess who's got my back? All of the community. I didn't even talk about that this morning, and I won't this late in the game. But all of the community, all of the parents, it's in the video that I didn't show you all. But if I don't do that, then the stuff hits the fan. They ain't coming to my rescue, right? So with the stuff hit the fan, the PTA, I'm gonna just say this one part. The PTA president said to me on the day I was suspended, she called me. She said, Kafele, sit home and enjoy your time.
Wow.
Off. She said, we got you. That's what she said. Sit home. I'm quoting her. Sit home and enjoy your time off away from school. We got this. See, but had I not been that dude that make parents feel comfortable, that make parents feel whole, like you somebody, like we want you in that building. Now stuff hit the fan. Good. Maybe we can get a better principal, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So that part was so key to how I got through that scenario. I should have talked about that this morning, but I'm not going to do it now. I should have, but it didn't enter my mind until you said what you said. Go ahead in here, Dr. Griffin.
Well, I just was going to add that to have that notion that parents don't care about their students' education, that's dangerous. Those are dangerous thoughts. That eliminates the opportunity to collaborate and network with them. So it's important that you cut off that type of talk at the head. You've got to be able to have that courageous conversations when you understand that that's what's flowed through your building. You got to lead with empathy and understanding. You got to push that through to your teachers so that, look, this is not what they want to do. They may have had negative experiences with the school. You don't know what has happened to make a parent feel some type of way about a school. So it's our job as educators to not feed into that, but to remain positive, to flip that into bringing them in, making them feel welcome, making them understand this is a place of love. Like I said earlier, we got to have love in our leadership and in our schools in order to push people forward, in order to power other people.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. So that's what I like to add.
Yeah, no, I love it. Make to the leaders out there, the fam out there, make sure that the parents feel that they're a part of the process, that they're a part of who you are. Now, those of you who are saying, but I got some hostile parents, blah, 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 then position yourself in a way, hear me well, position yourself in a way that you are able to have constructive conversations with them. Right? If a parent comes at me hard, like a parent's hostile and wants to go off on me, I'm not going to stop that. Go ahead. Do you cuss me out until exhaustion? And once I sense the exhaustion, like you've said it all and you repeated it, and now you slowing down because you tired of telling me off, that's when I step in and say, have a seat, let's talk. And I promise you, I'm going to step off of this in a second. I promise you, I'm going to say it again. I promise you, I'm going to say it one more time. I promise you, that parent is going to be one of my best friends and closest allies because I allowed you to vent without getting into a confrontation with you. See, we'll fight that if we're personalizing it. See, I'm not going to own that language. I'm not going to own that hostility, right? I'm going to understand and empathize with it. I understand you mad. Some incident happened on Friday, and now you've been mad Saturday and Sunday. So Monday, you ready to let loose. All right, I'm good with it, right? So let loose. I'm not going to look, no trace of sarcasm on my face whatsoever. My body language, nothing. I'm just gonna receive it. And then once you finish, hey, Mom, have a seat. Hey, Dad, have a seat. Let's talk. Now we talk with my tone just like this. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you that parent is my ally when that meeting is over.
Wow.
It's people skills. That's all it is.
People
It's
skills.
Yes.
people skills.
Yes.
Knowing how to deal with people and knowing yourself, being comfortable in your skin and not taking ownership of all them insults. Not to say that I got insulted a lot, but I got a couple. I did this for 21 years. You're gonna get a couple, right? So but when they come, I'm gonna win you over, right? Let me give it to you. Let me give it to you. How to win friends and influence people.
That's good.
Dale Carnegie broke it down in 1936, and the book never became irrelevant. It's still as relevant as it was in 1936. Man, we've come to the end.
Yes, sir.
Let's do these rapid fire questions right quick. I got 7 for both of you. We call these the BAM impact questions. So let me start off, Hayward. I got 7 for you. These are like 1 word answer or 1 sentence. Once you feel that comma coming, catch yourself, so I don't have to say right.
I hear you. Yes, sir.
They like in education. So Hayward, is education on the right path for underserved children today?
I don't think so. As a whole, it's not.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
I certainly believe that it can.
Does Hayward John's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
The progress we desperately need is the reason why I do the work that I do.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
If I could do a reset, my line of work would be exactly the same, just 10 times more.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because I am called by God and chosen to get it done.
What particularly fires you up about the work that you do?
That the work is still needed and love is still there for me to get it done.
And what do you absolutely love about this work?
The possibilities, the impact, and what we've seen as a result of our impact.
Tarina, what do you dislike about the work that you do?
Ooh. I wish that I dislike the fact that I always want to do more and there's just not enough hours in the day.
What has been your greatest victory in your work thus far?
I would say the students and teachers and families that just thank me and tell me thank you for being there, and whether not just teaching, but just making a positive impact on them.
What was your greatest mistake in this work thus far that you could talk about?
Oh, I think it ties directly to this our topic of today. Is there were some conversations with some people that I should have had when I was younger in my career that I just didn't have the tools in my toolbox yet to have.
What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Normally I would say balance, but I've learned that it's not possible to balance. Someone said finding a rhythm. And so finding that good rhythm, I think, is definitely the key.
Good stuff. Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
Yes, I feel like I hit the ground running my first year as an assistant, and I feel like I did a good job and just continue to get better from my second year as assistant and then my years as principal.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Yes.
And lastly, who inspires you in your work?
Wow. I would say all of those that came before me that allowed me to be able to be a teacher, or first of all, I should say a student, a teacher, an educator. I would say all those that laid the path and the groundwork for me to be able to be where I am today.
Good stuff. Dr. Griffin, what are you reading now? Could be a book, but it doesn't have to be. Blog, article, tweet, anything.
Actually, I'm reading Miles Monroe, Discover the Hidden You. Secret to Living a Good Life.
What book would you recommend for our viewers this afternoon?
Well, naturally, I have to recommend Empowering Educational Communities, a guide for teacher principal collaboration. Make sure you get that today. It's going to be useful for you.
Today. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
It's a great question. I want to continue to empower others on a even higher stage.
Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
I'm not satisfied.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Don't give up. Continue to focus on your dreams, stay with it, and keep moving forward.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
If you've lost your fire, you got to revisit your why. What's your purpose? Why are you doing it? Understand that, and then you're going to find it again.
And if Dr. Joseph Griffin, was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Determined or resilient.
If Hayward John was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Love, passion, and service.
If Tarina Cox-Jones was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Dedicated and driven.
Love it. Love it. Nicole Session, let me, I'm not sure what book you're asking about, so be a little bit more specific so we can give you that. And we'll give it right to you. Hey, look, y'all, powerful. I kind of messed it up with my long commentary this morning, but God got involved. I'm telling you, that was not my plan. Like my agendas are tight written. They're typically 7 to 8 pages long, and that long commentary wasn't part of it. But before I wrap that up, because I see that my fam is reminding me that we applaud the guests. So hit us up, fam, with the emojis, your favorite emojis, to let us know if our guests resonated with you, if they were helpful to your practice, if they were beneficial to your practice, if you found that there were things said that were useful to your practice, in this case, your communication, relative to uncomfortable, challenging, difficult conversations, etc. And I see that you started, so keep those emojis coming. And let me get my emoji, my Louisville Slugger. I call it my Josh Gibson special. And y'all was hitting them home runs out the building, man. Every time you came to bat, it was three men on base, and you just brought them home with them grand slams, man. So I'm grateful for this session. You know, this was great stuff. So keep them emojis coming, y'all. Let me go to Dr. Griffin. Dr. Griffin, how do they get in touch with you? How do they get your books? How do they book you to come out and speak?
All right, you can book me at drjoegriffin.speaks.com, or you can email me at joe@drjoegriffin.speaks.com.
There you go. And
you
then
can order my books off of Amazon as well.
And what about if they just want to follow you on social media?
If you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me at Dr. Joe Griffin. That's at Facebook, and on Instagram, Dr. Joe Griffin Speaks as well.
All right, good stuff. Hayward John, same thing.
Okay, again, thank you so much, Principal Kafele, for just who you are and sharing this with us. HaywardJohn.com. Again, the way it's spelled, there's no space in between. HaywardJean.com, or HaywardJohnBooking@gmail.com. So any of those two facets of ways you can connect with me, and I'd be happy to serve.
Excellent. And Tarina, I know you're not out here yet in these speaker streets, but you will be. So, but how do they at least get in touch with you? Don't put any phone numbers out there, but how do they get in touch with you or follow you on social media?
You can find on social Facebook, Tarina Cox-Jones, or my email address is Tarina, so it's my first name .COXJONES@OPS.org.
Excellent. Listen, y'all, I just want to say, and it's interesting. We've been on here since 10:55, and in terms of real-time numbers with the 4 platforms, we're still at 605 people, and that's not counting the ones who have gone in and out. That's the people that's on right now. So I'm sure it's in the thousands in terms of people who've been in and out since we've been on here, and that's always a good thing, because my whole intent is just to impact as many people as possible. And as many know, I started it for a whole year, 52 weeks of just going solo. But then God said to me, you know, there's some other voices out there. So I started tapping into just hundreds of people, bringing them on to just, you know, share their journey, share their thoughts, their views, in terms of being effective leaders. And here we are, just completing 230 sessions consecutively. I haven't missed a week, right? So you know, so it's a beautiful thing. So to close out, let me say to the fam, appreciate you being here. You know, I say that every week, man. If y'all weren't showing up, I guess there'd be no one to talk to, right? So I appreciate you being here. Those of you who tuned in after my monologue, I want to implore you to go back and listen to it a little longer than my norm. But you know, you know, every now and then I go on a little rant. But please go back and listen to the monologue in the beginning. You can just go to YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn and give it a listen. And feel free to reach out to me, social media or email, and let me know what your thoughts are on that. And then go on and watch what you missed of the session, because a lot was said. I mean, it's 1:42, man. So we going on 3 hours here. So a lot was said. So make sure that you go back and listen, not just what you heard when you came on late, but go back and listen to the whole thing and let somebody know as well, right? So other than that, let me just do the rundown and we'll holler real quick. Next week, folks, we'll be in week 231. I'll be live in Vegas because I'll be speaking there Friday, and I ain't flying back home Friday night. So we're going to do it from the room. I got 3 superintendents coming on. Dr. Deborah Wortham from Long Island, New York. Dr. Shannon Vincent from Mississippi. You know her, Joe?
I do. I used to work for her.
Oh, wow.
That's why we turned that D to a B in 1 year and kept it for 4 years thereafter.
Wow. All right. And then I got Dr. Joanne Roberto from Ontario, Canada. So we got the 3 of them, and our topic is going to be principal and AP leadership through the lens of the superintendent.
Wow.
Right. So we're gonna have a good one. So be there next week at 10:55. Next Saturday, Facebook Live, Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock, followed by Create and Educate at 10:30 with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, and then whom I refer to as the superstars. And then AP and New Principals Academy with me at 10:55, and then Sunday, PDP podcast with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno. That's Sunday at 7 o'clock. You know my books. I'm not going to put them on the screen again, but you know, just go to Amazon, put my name in, Baruti Kafele. There you go. Here's my school. There you go. Yeah. Oh, man, you blessing my soul. Right. So, yeah, go to Amazon and get yourself a copy, but be on the lookout for my new one, man. What is my value to the teachers I supervise instructionally? I've never been so excited about a new book as I am my newest one. Let me put this up here. I see. There we go. We got Hayward's wife keeping that promotion going. So there we go. So yeah, I'm be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. Make sure you do that, folks. Subscribe and hit the notification button, but also like and follow the AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page. Right, my Sunday commentary. So many of you may know that I wrote a long post about my suspension of September 17, 2004. Well, I got another long one tomorrow, which is the anniversary of my termination hearing. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be up before 10 o'clock a.m. So that'll be my commentary as opposed to my normal commentary. Make sure you visit principalkafele.com for all my additional resources. And then lastly, your diet. Make sure you're eating right. Your exercise. Make sure you're getting it in. Y'all see how slim I look, man? That's because I'm getting it done, baby.
That's it.
That one heart attack, you ain't got to tell me twice, right? So you know, so I'm taking care of me, and then make sure that, you know, all these viruses and diseases out here, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself. We don't want to see anybody get sick and all that kind of thing. So make sure you take care of you. Other than that, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. 1, 2, 3. Bam. I even toned that down a little bit. I see y'all next Saturday, man. Y'all have a great week.